Ladies and gentlemen.
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 Can I please have your attention?
Right now, showtime. Are you ready? Are you ready for start time?
Let's find out. Ready, set, go.
Ladies and gentlemen, get your popcorn ready, sit back, relax, because it's about time for Chatting with George Noonan. Oh, yeah. Everybody, welcome back. Thanks for listening. I'm here with Mike Wendt of Wicked Bites and formerly ZLX and ROR. Is that correct?
I never did ROR.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I did, the resume. Let's see. I've done ZLX, and I've done being at ZL. I started at ZLX. That was my first one, and ZLX was originally with CBS Radio. And being in the building, starting out in radio, I kind of did a cup of coffee with everybody. I did a cup of coffee with the Sports Hub, AMP when they first started, and then Mix I spent some time with. Never did BCN. That was the one I never got to that I wish I did. And then after ZLX closed, well, not closed, but moved over to iHeart, I went to WAF.
That's what I meant to say.
And then I've also, through the Wicked Bites radio show, been on WRKO for the last 15 years, up until pandemic. And then also with that movie show, which has been my podcast for 3 years. Last year, we also turned it into a radio show on North Shore 104.9. But that's no longer on the radio either. So it's been a weird, I don't know. It's 7 months, feels like 20 years.
Is that right? Really? So you're in limbo with everything or some of it?
Yeah, pretty much. It's one of the downsides of this whole thing has been being a creative person in it, because pretty much all the industries I'm connected to like shut down, like for lack of a better term. And it's like, radio, television, film, all, stopped when essential at best. TV and film have been getting back slowly.
The lights just went out in the garage. We don't often do the late ones, but
okay.
So
we're going to do this in the dark? Cool.
Yeah, I guess so.
Mood lighting.
Yeah.
So TV and film have been slowly coming back, but the movie theaters aren't really doing anything. And Showcase Cinemas was a sponsor of that movie show. So that went away. We were actually literally like maybe 3 weeks before COVID started in March. We had a great meeting with Showcase. We were on the verge of a new, better contract and bigger stuff. We're going to be doing live events with them. And that all just went away. And Wicked Bites, it's still on the air. I'm at the moment not really a part of it, just because again of COVID. We're not out filming because the show made the bulk of its money from sponsorships, mostly restaurant sponsorships.
Do you like the train, by the way?
That is a train. I like that.
It's right. It's literally.
It reminds me
20 feet away from the garage. The end of the garage.
I've been going to Delray Beach, Florida for my entire life. My grandparents lived there. Now my mother and my aunt both have places there. And there's a bar that we usually end our nights at called Johnny Brown's. And if you're sitting at Johnny Brown's, it's right on the train tracks. And if the train goes by, half off shots.
Is that right?
So, yeah.
Get them while they're hot, right?
Yeah. So that reminded me of that. But yeah. So it's been a weird. It's been tough for us creative folk trying to figure out our place during this COVID stuff. And I mean, for lack of a better term, I don't know the content of your show.
You can say whatever you want.
It's like throwing shit at the wall and seeing if it sticks,
there
basically, at this
Okay.
point. And professionally, everything's on pause.
Yeah.
Is the easiest way to put it. Like many people, I've been on unemployment since March 15th.
Okay.
Day one.
But I did see you last weekend.
Yeah.
On Wicked Bites. I happen to be watching it.
But like I said, the show's still on the air.
Right.
The show's still
you
on
were doing
the air.
you were doing the holding the plate.
Which
like
one
this,
was
like-
on? Because I'm a YouTube TV subscriber and they lost Nesson.
I read your post about that.
Yeah.
It was the one you had. Oh God, one of your I forget your meal of the choice of the meal, but the girl, what's her name? Isn't that Danielle? Is it?
We've had a few.
Okay. God, I want to say it's in Chelmsford, but I don't know.
What was the theming of it?
See, I don't really, because I was half paying attention.
Okay.
And you had a burger of some sort, I believe.
Okay.
And it looked really good, to be honest. But I wish I knew I was going to bring this, because I don't.
Sure.
I don't remember exactly, but I did see the episode Saturday, I believe, or Sunday.
It's on set. Yeah, Saturday morning.
Okay, Saturday mornings. Yes, yes, it was on. And again, I don't. There was beer involved. Of course, there was beer involved. Actually,
Yeah,
I remember the one. You were at a bar, and there was a guy who was you interviewed him from the table, and he literally said one word for every answer, and then you were ordering drinks, and you had a bucket of. They offered you like a certain dimensions or whatever sizes, and it came in a bucket. And you said, "Well, if you could have the option for a bucket, you do the bucket."
Based on the way you described that, I'm guessing that was the stumble in.
Yeah. Yes, you were stumbling in.
Stumbling in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
Okay. So
thank you.
Quick fun story about that one, since that one we remember. I had filmed that. That was an interesting shooting day because I had been home for about 48 hours after a 5-day Vegas trip.
Nice.
So I couldn't speak. I had no voice. I had a limp that I couldn't explain. And I was basically on a 2-day hangover after 5 days in Vegas. And I got there and literally was just sitting quietly, just drinking water the whole time, to the point that one of the customers thought I was on drugs. And the other bartender thought I was like a recovering alcoholic. And they're just like, what is wrong with you? Why you like I'm like, I just did 5 days in Vegas. Like,
right. Enough said.
Okay, man. So it was literally like, I would sit there quietly, and then I would like basically cough my voice up because I was literally talking like this off camera, and then the second the camera starts rolling, it's like, and then I could talk for like 30 seconds, and then I would lose my voice completely.
Wow.
So yeah, that was
I never would have guessed.
Good
for you.
The wonders of editing.
Yeah, you faked it till you maked it. That's for sure.
But it's tough because they were sitting there and they're making drinks and they have this wall of creative shots and stuff, and I'm just like,
and some you can't say on TV. I remember that part. That part.
And I'm completely faking it the whole time. I'm just like, yay, cheers, cut away.
So you never actually drank any of it?
Not on that day. No.
Oh, that's
I think I might have had a couple sips of light beer.
Yeah.
Just because the camera was there.
And they made their own, I believe. They made their own.
A lot of places. Do. Yeah, probably. Probably. My guess it was an IPA.
I think it was.
Everybody, that's something. I saw somebody. I think it was like one of the beer Instagrammers or something like that made a post the other day that I couldn't agree with more. It's like somebody needs to tell the craft beer people that there's a different style than IPA.
Right. It's all IPA.
It's all IPA. It's all how much hops can we get into it. And I'm like the furthest thing from a beer snob. Like when it almost offends people when we would go into places and I was described as the beer guy on the show and they'd be like, off camera, like, oh, so what do you drink when you're at home? And I'm like, I don't know, whatever's light and cheap and on tap, Coors Light, Bud Light, PBR, maybe. I don't give a shit.
They're expecting these.
I'm completely not picky. And they, but then, the camera turns on and I'm just like, oh, well, I can smell the aromas and taste the flavors. And, can I have a Coors Light, please? This is horrible.
You Dr. Hops until the camera's off.
Oh, man.
That's great.
I'm so not a hoppy type of person. I don't know. Like, I like good tasting beer. I've lost the whole IP. I think there's been too much of it.
Yeah.
Because especially early in the show, we used to do a lot of beer fests, and that's all there is there. It's how much more hops can we stuff into this IPA for this beer fest, and it's like you walk around, and the way we did those was because we had a camera. I don't know if you've ever been to any of these beer fests or any of that stuff, but you get a 2 to 4 ounce pour, then you go stand in the next line. And the lines take 10 to 15 minutes to get your next 2 to 4 ounce pour. Well, with a camera, you're just cutting the line.
Okay.
And you're doing 2 to 4 ounce shots of 14% beer.
Nice. You get the Disney pass.
Two or three carts in, you're like, okay, I'm feeling this. This is all right. I can do beer fest this way.
Yeah, right.
Let's make sure we just have a camera with us whenever we go to these things.
That's the move. I'm going to invest in one for that.
Seriously, make a fake one.
That's funny.
3D print a fake camera.
Right. It's funny you should say that, because in Weymouth, on the Hanscom Air Base, I think it is over there, they had a food truck week. I think it was like July 4th weekend, and we went to it's a huge field, and they had all the food trucks, and we're thinking, all right, there's going to be nobody around here. Everyone went away. We lasted 20 minutes because every line was 300 people deep. You couldn't and people were ordering at the front of the line like 5 pizzas because you're not going to get back in the line and do it again. So like you just alluded to, it's an investment. You're waiting hours to get there.
A lot of those things, for beer fests, there'll be like specific carts where you can buy a full beer. So most people buy a full beer and then just have that for their line. Beer,
wait
basically.
for the line, sure.
Because they can take forever. Barbecue fests are the same thing, where it's like you'll wait, sometimes 30 minutes to have one rib.
Yeah, you can't get more than one. Right? I mean, it's
like and that's just it. It's like I've how much for one rib? Did I really just do that? All right,
let's get the next line for the
next line. The same thing. Yeah, I remember we went to one. This was long before the show. I think it was actually the Phantom Gourmet's Barbecue Fest when it was at Suffolk Downs.
Oh wow,
when that was a thing, and I was living in Winthrop at the time. So we went over.
You've been to the ranch then?
Oh, love it. Yeah, love it. Love it. I lived there. Before I found real food in Winthrop, I lived there. I love that you call it that.
Well, that's how I knew it. I went out with a girl from Winthrop, and she lived by the water tower there, up on that, and we would, you pass Beachmont to get to there. Yep. There's only one way to Winthrop, really. Yep. You know that. And
one in and out.
You stop at I called it Beachmont. She's like, what? I go, beach? She said, no, it's the ranch. Yeah. I'm like, I don't even want to know why. I'll
It's never been
do
explained to me. When I lived there, my 2 roommates grew up in Winthrop, and for years that I'd go visit. We were friends before that. So when I'd go to visit them, like, oh, let's go to the ranch, and I didn't get it, but I knew what it was because I knew it was Beachmont, because when we would go get roast beef, it was like we'd go to Beachmont.
Yeah.
And they just kept calling it that, and I'm like, it's got to be just a thing. I don't know. But then it was like everyone calls it this, and nobody's bothered to explain it to anyone.
I brought it back to Stoneham, and it's the ranch. I don't know what
the ranch.
I don't know why. I don't want to know why. Just order the 3-way and shut up.
But yeah, so we were we went over to Suffolk Downs because that's where they were doing it before the Andelmans had their drive-in, and they hold it there now.
In the little town of Mendon.
In the little town of Mendon, yeah. It's funny because the guy I was living with now lives out in Hopedale, so he goes to the drive-in all the time.
Oh wow.
And we went over to their barbecue fest, and one of the lines we waited in, it was like, again, 25 minutes, and it was all to get like a fork tip of hot sauce. It was one of those sign the waiver, see if you survive.
Wow.
And I'm like, all right, it's a thing. Like, you didn't pay for obviously the fork tip of hot sauce.
Right.
You paid for it in other ways, but not by monetary value. And I'm like, well, we're definitely doing that last because I'm looking at everyone else, and it's going to ruin my day.
So you're going to do it anyways, regardless.
Oh, shit, yeah, man.
Why not,
you got to do it.
You're there.
It's one of those things. It's a fork tip. How much could it hurt? A lot.
Just a tip.
Oh my God. Exactly. Just a tip. It hurts so much.
That's great.
But that was kind of that became the thing. And I've kind of had that, I'll try anything once type of thing with not just, food or on TV, but even stuff like with that movie show. It's like we review a lot of crap movies.
Sure.
But it's like I'll watch it once
Yeah.
You know, it's you got that one chance to make the first impression, and a lot of them suck.
That's right.
A lot of them suck.
You end up being like Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Very much, yeah, very much. It's kind of where we started. Where, because we started trying to be, real movie reviewers, and then we realized
Dale Hershey. That was his name.
Dana
right?
Hershey.
Dana
Yeah.
Hershey. Yes.
Dana Hershey. Yeah. And we tried doing the real thing for a little bit, and we realized that us trashing movies was connecting more.
Oh yeah.
So like some of our more popular episodes are like Battlefield Earth.
It's ferocious.
Which we did on our first anniversary. We put it out to the listeners, and we're like, all right. I basically went and I Googled biggest bombs of all time and made a list of 10. I'm like, you guys vote, you pick it. Of course, Battlefield Earth won.
What were a couple more on there, if you don't mind? If you remember.
Adventures of Pluto Nash was one.
Oh, yeah.
Cutthroat Island was one.
Yeah.
Norbit. Eddie Murphy had 2 of them.
Norbit. Wow.
And Showgirls was on there, and then we eventually got around to Showgirls last year because the Jennifer Lopez stripper movie came out.
Oh, Hustle, right?
Hustlers.
At least that's what I'm told.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
No, I'm kidding.
I have my problems with it. I did a solo review on Hustlers. It wasn't bad, but it definitely had a lot of holes.
Yeah.
Phrasing. And but we did Showgirls, and again, Showgirls numbers off the charts.
Yeah.
Stuff. It's the weird ones that click.
Well, that one hit it well too. Like that one became a cult thing.
Very culty. Yeah.
As bad as it was so bad it's good.
My thought is most people think it's a bootleg copy on YouTube, and they just click play, and then you see my stupid face up there talking about, Showgirls, and like, oh, this is terrible.
That's not Elizabeth Berkley.
That's not Elizabeth Berkley. Definitely don't want to see him naked. So
Right?
let's move on. But yeah, it's the weird, quirky ones. There's no rhyme or reason because it's like, and it almost there's times it like hurts my feelings because I'm like, you guys are like, I took a lot of time researching The Departed.
This is my art.
Like Departed is great.
Yes.
You guys just want to talk about Showgirls?
Right. Well, hey,
Yeah, whatever, man.
give the people what they want.
So yeah, like this past week we did.
You've been doing horror movies this past, right?
We did. It hasn't actually. We just recorded it yesterday. This week's one, but we did this year. Last year for Halloween, we did the classics. We did 5 weeks of classics. So we did the Texas Chainsaw, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Halloween, and one other. I don't know.
What is it? Hellraiser? What
No,
else could it?
we didn't do that one. Maybe,
Saw?
No. It was definitely the classics. It was the 80s guys, the 70s and 80s. Shit, I'll sit here for an hour thinking about it.
Well, it'll pop
but
in
it
there.
doesn't matter. And this year, we were doing action movie quarantine for a while.
Nice.
So we were just doing all action movies during quarantine.
Come on.
And then we did Arnold August.
Oh, you see?
We did Arnold August. And then, Christ, I don't even remember what we did in September. Eventually, the last few weeks, it was random Googling, getting lost in the rabbit hole of the internet.
That happened.
I realized that in a 1 month period back in 1980, 40 years ago, 3 of the most iconic comedies were released.
Can I name one?
Go ahead.
And I wanted to bring this up to you anyways, due to my last name. Got to be Caddyshack.
Yep. So from June 20th through July 25th of 1980, Blues Brothers, Airplane, and Caddyshack were all released in theaters. So we did took 3 weeks.
So Blues Brothers was in 80?
1980. Yeah.
I can't imagine the Blues Brothers and Caddyshack being
Same month. Yeah.
Same
I mean, they were
month.
filmed in 79, obviously, but
okay.
but yeah.
Oh, so it's a technicality. It was all right.
They were released. It was
Released, all right.
Basically, what we were saying is if
Which
you
is
were
fair.
if you were a moviegoer in 1980, there was a 1 month period where it was the funniest month ever.
That's a good premise.
So we did those, and then we were like, oh well, we kind of bump it into halfway through October. What are we going to do for Halloween? So we're like, let's just do something goofy. Let's do something stupid.
Yeah.
Literally. So we did Ernest Scared Stupid. Which is a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
Well, how bad do you think? But if the bar's down here, it can only go up.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things. Like I don't know. I was never into Ernest as a kid.
No, and it was
I knew of Ernest, obviously.
Jim Varney.
Jim Varney. And I made the connection when we did the podcast. I was like, it was, and they kind of ran parallel. So there was like Pee Wee Herman and Ernest at the same exact time, and they're basically the same character.
I was a Pee Wee guy.
And that's just it. I was a Pee Wee guy. And so I never got into Ernest. And you get older, and it's not like you're seeking out Ernest Scared Stupid. And
Trying to avoid it.
yeah. And so we'd had that. And somebody recommended, one of the people on Twitter recommended, oh, just do that one. I'm like, all right, cool. You hate me. And it's how social media is, man. And so we did it. And I'm watching. I'm like, this is a lot better than it should be.
Oh, that's funny. And they have so many more movies than Pee Wee did. He's got a ton of them.
Yeah.
Volume wise, I'm not saying good.
Yeah. I mean, again, doing the research for this one, he did 4 Ernest movies in theaters. The rest were like straight to VHS type deals. Yeah. And yeah, so we did that, and then we did Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Classic.
Again, I wasn't an Abbott and Costello guy; I was a Three Stooges guy.
Yeah.
But very similar brands of humor. But it was kind of cool because I had always, I ran video stores a lifetime ago.
So did I.
And I had 4 Hollywood videos.
See, I just managed my West Coast Video.
Oh, there you go. I was fired from West Coast Video once. Once. Well, yeah. Only took once. Somebody didn't explain you're not supposed to say certain titles onto a voicemail.
Oh, see?
Late,
Understood.
I came from Hollywood Video. We didn't have porn.
I did that live. I did that to a person who was giving me grief.
See, it probably would have gone over better if it was like on the phone with a person, but
yes.
I left it on someone's answering machine.
Yeah, see, that's
and
evidence.
The wife called back.
Ooh.
Being like, what if my kid heard this? And I'm like, you rented it.
Yeah, right.
I'm just doing my job here.
But I'm just trying to collect.
West Coast for that.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah,
That's funny.
Literally, the guy, one and done. Wasn't going to give me a second chance on that one.
Oh, that stinks.
Whatever. It is what it is. It's fucking a lifetime ago. But yeah, so I remember the Abbott and Costello box art from the video store days, and I didn't realize that it was like the classic, like it was Bela Lugosi and Lon Chaney in these movies playing Dracula and Wolfman and stuff like that. So watching it for the first time when I pushed play, I was like, oh my God, look at that. That's Bela Lugosi. Like, oh.
The real deal.
Yeah, and the funny thing was again, doing research, realized that it was only the second and last time Bela Lugosi ever played Dracula. Like
what?
Yeah. Like, that's what I thought. I'm like, no, wait a minute. Bela Lugosi is Dracula.
Right.
Like, I've seen Ed Wood a few times. He is Dracula. And no, he did it in 1931 in the original Dracula. And then this...
For Abbott and Costello?
Abbott and Costello was the second and last time he played Dracula.
That's a great trivia question.
Yeah, very, very weird.
I would have thought at least 5. I mean, when you
it was basically his legacy.
Yes,
like
that's
he
what I mean.
thought he did like a whole series of movies, but yeah, no, I guess I don't know. Universal only made the one in 31, and then did this one in 48.
Wow, and it was so far apart too. It wasn't even like it was 2
I
years.
think it was more like he was doing Dracula-esque type things. Like he was showing up on like I don't know. Like it's not Elvira's show, but whatever Elvira's show was in the 30s or 40s, like that sort of thing. Like he was the Count, that whole deal.
Yeah,
but yeah. So we do we do a lot of weirder movies on that now. So that's where I was going. This week we did Pool Boy, Drowning Out the Fury.
Wait, is that the name of the movie?
That's the name of the movie.
Pool Boy Drowning Out the Fury. Is it Pool Boy : Drowning Out the Fury? Seriously?
Yes, it is.
So that means there's other Pool Boy movies?
No, and that's part of the problem. Here's the thing. I would not suggest seeking this movie out.
It just came to you? You seeked it out, right?
No. My co-host found it. Again, he was down a YouTube rabbit hole too.
You've got to be.
Saw this trailer, and he's like, "Oh, this is hilarious," and sent it to me. I thought it was a fake trailer. It looked like one of those like amateur. Remember when Grindhouse came out?
Yes,
everyone was making the fake trailers and stuff.
They were good too.
And it looked like one of those. I'm like, oh, and I sent him a text, like, fake trailer, very funny.
Yeah, right.
And he's like, no, it's a movie.
No.
It's on Amazon Prime. We're doing it next week.
That's amazing. I have Amazon Prime. Now I have to go do this.
It's terrible.
I know, but now I have to.
Terrible.
You know I'm going to call this episode Mike Wendt, Pool Boy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, as long as you're okay with that. 'Cause that's what it's doing. That's
Mike
what it's doing.
Wendt, drowning out the listeners. There you go.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was so bad. But I'm sure once I think it's probably going to come out tomorrow. Once it comes out, it's probably going to be our biggest fucking thing, and we'll have to keep doing them.
Yes. Well, that. You know what? That's great though. At least there'll be a demand.
Yeah, it's good to be in demand.
Yeah. That's right.
It's nice to be wanted. It's nice to have a purpose in 2020.
Yes. Now, are you doing anything? Because I did find that I do have another thing in common with you. Not as much as you, but the wrestling.
Yeah.
Big wrestling fan.
Yeah. It's.
I have a friend Damon that I know of the biggest wrestling fan. But you are.
It's something that I've been watching it since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I remember as young as 4 years old, Saturday, Sunday mornings with my grandfather watching, Wrestling Challenge and
56.
stuff like that. Yeah.
You just did Vince McMahon, didn't you?
Huh?
You just did a Vince.
Not on purpose, but it does slip in and out. It does slip in and out. But yeah, so I've done a few shows. Me and my buddy Billy Finnegan did a show called The Mike and Billy Show, which started out as just a general podcast. It was like a pop culture talk about it, much like this, with just bullshitting, talking about whatever. And then we had the opportunity, and we interviewed Paul Heyman.
Wow.
And that episode went through the roof. And because of that, we developed a very good relationship for about a year or two with WWE. And we were getting people every month to interview. And we kind of by default became a wrestling podcast. Even though both of us were huge wrestling fans, it was a conscious effort when we started. We're like, let's not talk about wrestling because we know ourselves and we didn't want to
geek out.
Well, we didn't want it to be a wrestling podcast.
Why?
But if we because we had other things to talk about.
Oh, I see.
We were two disgruntled radio employees who had shit to talk about.
Oh, so
you know what I mean?
Forget Sergeant Slaughter. Let's talk about these.
I mean, we were stuff like Christ. What was going on back then? It was a weird episode, but it was. You remember when the DJ Avicii played The Garden and
I don't.
30,000 15-year-olds went to the hospital?
I truly don't.
It was a thing for like 20 minutes.
Okay.
Anyway, so that happened. So and then that same day we had Mick Foley and Seth Rollins on the show. Wow. And it was a bizarre show, but stuff like that. So we wanted to be able to talk about what was happening.
Sure, makes sense.
And not just wrestling. Because there's plenty of wrestling podcasts. I mean, shit, I have one now. And then fast forward to before it was that movie show, my co-host Eddie and I did that wrestling show on Nessun. So it was like a year and a half, 2 years we did it for him. Which was basically, I went to the guy who was at the time running Nessun Digital and was like, hey, did you ever put a wrestling show on? He's like, yes, because wrestling draws numbers. Obviously.
Again, the Vince McMahon right there. That was good.
Again, it's very subconscious. Like, I'm glad you're hearing it.
I love
not
it.
Trying.
It's phenomenal.
I'm not trying at all.
Yes.
Yes. Now I can try. Get the growl going.
Right.
We went to Nessun. It's like, you're going to put on my wrestling show.
Did you ever see Beyond the Mat?
Oh, I love it.
When he's pitching draws, hey, you're going to puke.
He's going to puke. He's going to puke. I love Vince.
So much.
Love it. I still, to this day, I'm like, that when he's first on that movie, he's sitting there in his desk in his 90s office. It's all neon to hell. He's got his bottle of water. And he's like chewing on something. He's like, we make movies, pal. It's like, oh, you are such an ass.
So awesome. And that's one of the best documentaries that I've seen. It's a great one.
It was so good. It hit everybody at the right moment.
Yeah.
And going back to it, still like that. Like they caught not only WWE, it was WWF at the time when they were on their biggest run with Austin and The Rock and the late '90s were the greatest time to be alive if you were a wrestling fan, and they also had ECW, which was Paul Heyman's company, which was at the time just really getting going. Like they were on their first pay-per-view, and they had that great speech of Paul Heyman back in the locker room before their first pay-per-view. Just like you watch that, and you're like, I understand why people killed themselves for no money for him.
Right.
I understand why they accepted bounce checks from this guy. Like he is like, I will drink that Kool-Aid all day long.
Yes.
And still to this day, like I said, when Billy and I had the show, we interviewed Paul like 3 times. And each time it's like he dropped little nuggets that were like, it was unintentional. It was just him being him.
Yeah.
But it's like, man, this dude is like inspiring. Like, he just said we do like being able to impress Paul with like an intro.
Yeah.
It was so cool. And then, you know, stuff like when WWE did his documentary, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman. We interviewed him when that came out. Wow. And it was like, I watched the documentary. I'm like, this guy is like, if you need inspiration, I don't care if you're a wrestling fan or not, get a free trial of the network and just go watch that documentary. It doesn't matter if you understand wrestling. Like, that dude's story is just like he's been hustling his way since he was like 12 years old into this business that he wanted to be in. And he's still, you know, succeeding at a high level today at it.
And that's what I said about the documentary. You don't even have to be a wrestling fan.
Right.
You just have to be a fan of
it's
humanity. It's exactly.
They're telling
Jake
stories.
Roberts.
Yeah.
Everything. It's everything is there.
There's storytellers at a very physical level is how it is. And yeah, so we did the that movie that wrestling show, which then kind of morphed into that movie show when the Nesson thing stopped. And probably, I don't know, 2-3 months ago, a buddy of mine who's also a wrestling fan was probably equally as bored as I was during COVID, and was like, "Would you ever do another wrestling podcast?" I'm like, "I got nothing else to do."
Goddamn right I would.
Like, I'm already sitting at this computer all friggin' day. What like, I don't, like, my thing to him was, I was like, I don't want to do any work. Like, I don't have it in me to care.
I just look good on film. That's all I want
to care. And he's like, and he pitched this idea, and it's kind of what.
Can you say it?
Oh, the podcast is called Two Guys Watching Wrestling.
You already didn't? Isn't that on your Facebook?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I thought so.
We're on our second series now.
Oh, all right. Okay.
So and that was kind of the thing, because we again, much like when Billy and I did the show, we didn't want to talk about current wrestling, because again, there's a million podcasts that do that.
Yeah. And
especially at the current point of wrestling, it's really not, like, they're not booking it for me type of thing. Like, I'm kind of, as a lifelong wrestling fan, my viewership goes through peaks and valleys. Like I said, late 90s, I was prime demographic. It was the greatest time to be alive. Like, I was 17 to 22 during that Attitude Era run. That's exactly who they were targeting. Sable and all the DX shit.
Sable, yes.
Like that. Oh yeah. Like, 19-year-old Mike. Yeah. All in on Steve Austin flipping the bird and chugging beers. All in on it. 40-year-old Mike, wrestling is in a valley at the moment for me. So and same with Rich, my co-host on Two Guys Watching Wrestling. And so we're like, we don't want to do that, because we don't want it to be a negative bitch fest the whole time.
Right.
So what can we do? And he's like, well, he went back through the WWE network to some like old 80s WCW stuff, from like, you know, Sting and Ric Flair's heyday. And there was this weird, like, 4-month story arc that went nowhere.
For 4 months. It took 4 months to get nowhere.
Yeah.
I love those.
God, wrestling, man.
Wrestling. He's gonna puke.
This is a sports entertainment. And it was called The Black Scorpion. And it was terrible.
Oh, yeah.
and he's like, we should do that. We should do
Boo Boy, Black Scorpion.
Literally. I mean, it's along the same quality. And I'm like, all right, I could be down for that. Which is along the same lines of the Mystery Science Theater type of, of show, where it's just, we sit there and we bash it ad nauseum.
Sure.
And so we did that one, and we're like, all right, this is good. I like this. Because it's more fun, than really trying to nitpick and break down and critique.
Right. Yeah, it's Wicked Bites without the.
Yeah, we're not taking ourselves serious at all.
You're just having a great time, of course.
So this current one we're on is the first 6 months of the WWE's resurgence of ECW. So it's June through December of 2006, and it's bad.
Is it? Yeah.
And the. I picked this one, so I kind of shot myself in the foot on this one.
You taking the heat on it?
I didn't think far enough ahead, and we're basically covering a month per episode. So it's one of those things like once a week, I have to spend an entire day watching a month's worth of this. Oh, wow. And by the 9 o'clock when we record the show, I'm just like,
miserable.
Can we not? Do we have to actually do a show now?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still it's fun. Again, people love misery.
And misery loves company. So there you go.
I'm hurting myself for your entertainment. You're welcome. Yeah. So that's where I'm at with wrestling now.
Well, what was your all-time? If you could pick. Well, first of all, let me ask you this: Sure. Have you ever watched the series on? Oh man, I can't think of the name of the series. I only watched one thing on it. It's the dark side of wrestling.
Love it.
Yes. What channel is that? Because it's going to
Vice.
Vice. Thank you.
Dark Side of the Ring. Yes.
Dark Side of the Ring. Right. That's such a great thing, and they just.
I mean, it's some of the saddest stories ever, but they do an amazing.
They do
job.
It so well.
They do an amazing job.
The Bruiser Brody one was like what?
Yeah.
And they are renewed for another season, so that's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, they started this year with a 2-part bang with the Chris Benoit story.
Was that not the best?
And it's amazing because as a wrestling fan, there's very little you don't know about the Chris Benoit story, but they found shit in there that was like, oh, wow, really?
My friend Damon won't watch it because he's like, well, I know. I go, no, I'm telling you, I'm going to show you something you don't know.
The Owen Hart one, I literally was crying during because it's just like watching his family. It's like, oh my God, this is horrible.
It's brutal. Mick Foley with the I mean, I might be thinking about Beyond the Mat. I'm sorry.
He did it too. I mean, they
do such a great job.
It's amazing that it's this goofy form of entertainment, but it's so like when it's done right.
Yes,
it's like it grabs you. It's entertainment, like anything else. If it's done right, it can affect you in a number of different ways. Whether it's a movie, whether it's a TV show, whether it's a podcast, a documentary, a radio show, anything, a stupid video on YouTube. If it's done right, that it conveys that emotion out of you.
Yeah, they took one of the worst. I forget if it was a story arc or a WrestleMania, but that whole real boxing tournament,
Brawl for All.
Even though you knew what was going to happen, first you did learn stuff, but I was glued to the set. I'm like, this is amazing because you don't get the back stuff. You usually don't.
That was the worst. I remember watching.
Wasn't that episode great? I know that was the worst. But the episode?
It was fantastic.
Yes, but the event itself was atrocious.
Yeah, I mean, I remember in '98 watching that week to week, and that was definitely the point where you would do something else. If you were in the arena, that was definitely the beer break. It's like that was terrible. And back then, I mean. There wasn't DVRs.
No.
You had to record that on VHS if you wanted to watch it later.
We had to hit play and record at the same time.
Oh, yeah, man.
Times were tough.
I mean, luckily, I've been video savvy almost my entire life. So, yeah, I had I think at that point I only had 2 VCRs. At a certain point I had 3 going where I was, because, editing and filmmaking has been like a passion hobby of mine since I was a kid.
Yeah.
So it's like I was just before I knew what I was doing before I could verbalize it as a term, I was the kid that was just figuring out how to wire VCRs together to make what current day YouTube culture would call supercuts or mashups or something like that.
Right.
And I was taking movies and cutting them together and having I'd edit scenes together where the Reservoir Dogs are talking to the guys in Pulp Fiction, and it works, and it was primitive as hell, but it was fun for me.
Yeah, of course, it's like your little mixtapes. I would take different parts of
100%.
Yeah,
100%. It was just a video version of it.
Yeah, right.
And it was something that it was when I stopped playing with action figures. That's what I progressed to.
See, I haven't stopped yet. I got to do.
Yeah, exactly.
I gotta cut the cord, so to speak.
Yeah,
it's about time. That's why I'm in the garage. This
is your safe space.
That's right. I keep all my wrestling dolls behind there.
Yeah. God, when my brother bought the house we grew up in Linfield, and they were cleaning out all the crap that had been collected over 35, 40 years, and he found a box of these old wrestling figures from the 80s that we had, and I couldn't believe it. And now they've traveled with me, I think 3 locations. It's just that one, like, it started with 2 or 3 bins that was going from apartment to apartment, and now it's gotten down to I think 1 bin that's like
you can't let go.
It travels with you. You never open it, but you also can't throw the shit away.
Who's in it right now? Who made the cut?
Well, I can tell you who's not in it.
Fair enough.
Nikolai Volkov is not in it because when I was a kid, he died in my world. I had a creative brain, and I would make scenarios. And Nikolai Volkov died in a match that I was having, and I buried him in the front yard, and then that got paved over for a basketball hoop.
That's hysterical.
He's still under there somewhere. Big hunk of rubber.
Right. I used to have a lot of those things.
Yeah. They were tough, especially having two young boys. They were weapons.
Right.
You beat the crap out of each other with them.
You launch them, sure.
Just whip each other. You grab them by the leg and they kind of floppy a little bit.
He has an Orndorff.
Yeah, it was a thick piece of rubber that you beat your brother with.
I remember the commercial. There was for the thummies.
Thumb wrestlers, yeah.
And the Iron Sheik came out and he goes, "Okay, kids, back to class." Like that commercial.
It's all, of course, you look at it now, it's like, you thumb up a wrestler's ass.
That's right. That's what you were doing. You were basically thumbing a wrestler.
Yep. Unbelievable.
Well, I hope it was your thumb anyways.
Well, it's consensual.
But if you see...
you paid for it.
That's right. You do. One way or another.
You negotiate the price of Toys R Us.
Have you ever walked down the toy aisle now and you see the wrestlers? Such detail. Like, they're amazing. Like, they've gone from the generic couple eyes, a nose, possibly some teeth or whatever,
right,
to like every single, like the Brock Lesnar figures are just ridiculous. The detail, it's amazing.
What amazed me, and it's also a generational thing because a lot of guys back in the day didn't have them, but now that the figures all have very detailed tattoos. I mean, none of the wrestlers in the 80s really had, you had, maybe the occasional anchor tattoo or something like that.
Yeah, I think Harley Race had a couple.
Yeah, Harley Race had one. I think Rick Rude, all the Minnesota guys had the anchor.
Cut the music.
Rick Rude was amazing. And now, I mean, people are covered head to toe. You got all the Samoan guys, Roman Reigns, The Rock, and everybody has all the Samoan tribal art and shit on them, and it's like now the figures have to have that.
Yeah, right. That's
it. The CM Punk figures, all before he quit, all had like all his tattoos. It's very cool, but it's also it's like that with everything. I mean, you think about video games now. I mean, you play a video game and it's like watching an animated movie. Yeah. Back in the day, it was like little block figures that, that's Hulk Hogan. How do you know? Because it had the blonde hair and yellow tights. He's orange. It's like a hot dog with a bathing suit on. Now it's like it's literally him. It's
right.
It's CGI'd off their face basically.
The Spider-Man ones are ridiculous.
Yeah,
they all are actually.
And I got back in because it was given away for free back in May, so I got back into Grand Theft Auto.
Oh.
And it was something when I had an Xbox 360 years ago, and it was like probably around when it first came out, which was 7 years ago. My God.
Is that right?
Yeah. And I played it, ad nauseum. Yeah. It was one of those things. Like when I get into something, I get all in, and I'll easily spend 18 hours in front of a game.
Wow.
Like that's not unheard of for me, but that's also my weird OCD brain. And then I stopped for a while. I got tired of it, moved on, and of course, thankfully, the pandemic happened.
Woo, something good came out of it.
Thankfully, we were all indoors doing nothing, just looking for another excuse to kill time. And this website was giving the PC version away for free. So I'm like, oh, cool. Okay, I'll play this. Time killer. And I had a few friends that play online games, so I told them, I'm like, get it? We'll all mess shit up in the game for a while. And it did. For a while, it was a very good time killer. But what happened in August was I finally, like, again, I get very OCD about things. If I'm into it, like, I dig deep and figure out, like, all this. Like, I consume myself with it. Doesn't matter if it's a band or an actor, whatever it is, I want to find everything out and go all in. And I've been playing this game now for a couple months, and I had seen all these YouTube videos on it. And I'm like, that I know that they're doing it with the game, but it doesn't look like the game. It was much more like cinematic and very well edited and stuff like that. And that sparked the filmmaker brain in me to be like, all right, how are they doing this? Because I've been playing this game for months and I don't see any of this ability. And I dug into it and I found out within the game is this primitive but very also interesting editing software. And once I figured that out, I basically for the last few months have been like creating short movies based in this game. Me and my buddies have made characters and we're creating scenarios and it got to a point that it was one of those things like, over the course of the last few years, like I mentioned, I had this, passion for filmmaking since a child that I lost when it became a job a little bit. Mm-hmm. And this kind of re-sparked it, for lack of a better term, where I'm like, I'm actually being creative for the first time since forever. You know what I mean? Since at least COVID, it feels like forever. And it's kind of neat. And I started putting them together and making these little short films, 3-4 minute consumable things, and just started dropping them on like YouTube and stuff. And they're kind of like doing well.
Yeah. Good for you.
I got this weird notification. Like it tells you how many views your channel got. And I was like, I'm like 70,000 views away from 1 million.
Wow.
And I'm like, and that's not me bragging. That's me holy shit.
Right,
1 million people have clicked play on my videos. And it's like, it's not just these Grand Theft Auto ones. It's also, that movie show and, stuff I've been doing for years. Wicked Bite stuff is on there and stuff. But yeah, it's really cool to, especially when you're a creative person in these times, to be able to use your brain. Because for, like I said, for months of doing nothing, you go numb.
Yeah.
Completely. Like, I don't know how everybody's living, but I know myself personally, it's like I barely leave the Cape. I'm living on the Cape now, so it's like there's not a lot going on. The colder it gets, there's less to do. And so it's like I'm just spending time in the house, and finding things to do. Like in June, I shot a commercial. I got back into acting, which was kind of cool.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, thanks to COVID. Well, I don't have a job.
Thanks to COVID. COVID's the best.
I had a job and now I'm unemployed. But it's like I needed shit to do. And a buddy of mine who's a filmmaker and a fantastic commercial director called me up. And I've worked with him in the past, but not as an actor. I've worked
What's his name? Give him a shout.
Stephen Schloss, Schloss Films. And I've worked, like on the crew, like I've been his assistant director and stuff like that on certain commercial projects. And he calls me up. He's like, I'm doing this thing. And I'm like, I needed a way to make an extra buck or two and get out of the house. So I was in, and he's like, and I have a perfect role for you. And I'm like, oh shit, I can do acting. He goes, but, and I'm like, he said, but I didn't hear but. I'm like, well,
you heard nudity.
I just heard work. I heard getting out of the house. Again, putting pants on is nice.
That's what they tell me.
Yeah, getting out of the house, being a human being is nice. And the but was, he goes, are you comfortable doing full prosthetic makeup? Now, I've died in independent film, so I've had a bullet hole in my head.
You die at the palace. You die at the palace.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So I've died a couple times. So I've had very basic prosthetic, a little bullet hole on the forehead or a throat slash on my neck. And
so we're not talking Dirk Diggler. We're talking...
No, above the waist. I've died above the waist. And
it's better than below the waist.
No, the checks haven't been that good. And... but I'm like, yeah, I'm good with whatever, man. Like, I'm not a complainer, and I'm not like weird about stuff, so I'll do it. And we did, and it was legit like Hollywood. Like the people that made and it was my prosthetic. It wasn't like they bought a Halloween mask that was really expensive. Yeah. They literally created this off of my measurements and my face, and it was the same people that have done the Mystique makeup for X-Men movies.
Wow.
And so the woman came out from California, and it was like 3.5 hours of putting makeup on. And then like after, 8 to 12 hour shooting, it was like an hour and a half to get it off. just to put a ballpark of what my days were like. Sure. But it was so cool. Like I had never done this before, and now it's one of those things that like I can add the fact that I can put full prosthetics on. The commercials I've shared it on Facebook a couple weeks ago. I was a Sasquatch, and it was awesome. It was 3 days of
everyone loves Bigfoot, sure.
Yeah, it was 3 days of playing make believe with makeup. Everybody asks what does it feel like? The best way to describe being in full facial prosthetic makeup is if someone covered your face in Scotch tape.
That's how you describe it?
That's how I describe it.
And then ripped it off? Or
no. There was never a ripping off because they used like saline stuff to take the glue and the adhesive off you. But while it's on you, your face is pulled so tight with all the glue that it feels like there's Scotch tape all over your face.
So you could play Joan Rivers, no problem.
Oh, completely.
See, that's
my face was stapled to the back of my head. But it was cool, and it was something to do. And then August into September, I was cast in a movie, and I hate to be that guy to say it, but unfortunately I can't talk about it because I signed like a very lengthy NDA.
Sure.
So until when the movie comes out, I'd love to talk about it.
When does it come out?
I have no idea. I'm guessing next fall. It was kind of a horror movie, but it was cool because it was one of those things where like it's a legit movie, like real people that if I named the actors, you would know who they are, type of thing. And I just don't know how much I can or cannot say, so I'm not going to say anything.
That's fine.
But it was like they reached out to me, like they were like, "Oh, we have this part again."
Get that wrestling show guy.
Well, that's like I don't know how they fucking found me.
They did.
Like I'm just like
another train. This is great.
Yeah, look at that. Half off shots. There you go, Johnny Brown. But it was like normally like it would be a situation where you would put in for the role, but I didn't. I just got an email being like from this casting agent being like, "Would you be available to audition tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Sure, I'm doing nothing. What do I do? Turn on Zoom? Okay, cool. I guess I'll." Again, do I have to wear pants?
Yeah, right. That's
the biggest challenge of COVID is do I have to put pants on or can I wear my pajamas? But it was awesome, and I got the part, and it was like one of the coolest. Like I've done background work on like 20 some odd movies, like anything that came through the way I put it is I've worked on every movie that's come through Boston except for the cool ones. Like
that wasn't you in The Departed?
Nope. Departed, Black Mass, Good Will Hunting, all the cool ones I miss out on. Ghost of Girlfriend's Past, I'm in it.
What about was it
Pink Panther? I'm in it.
Is that true?
Underdog, I'm in it.
Are you really?
Well, I mean, I was cut out of them, but I was there.
Okay,
but the fucking checks clears, man.
Right, that's all that matters.
The checks cleared. Ghost Girlfriend's Past I'm actually in. That was the one I had the most screen time and had my McConaughey moment.
I was going to say, I thought that was McConaughey. It was.
It was.
What was the moment? You can talk about that now, right?
Yes, that I can.
What was the moment?
That was years ago. Jesus.
Yeah.
And so I did 3 days on Ghost of Girlfriend's Past. It was an extra role, background actor. And it was one of those things where it was filmed in the basement club of Saint, which I believe is Storyville now. I don't know what it might have changed over. Anyway, they picked it because it resembled what they were looking for, which was an 80s singles swingers bar. It was like the walls were all red crushed velvet and stuff like that, and very, very
say no more,
very sexy. And so we're sitting there, and it's like when you're an extra, you basically you're corralled, you're penned off. It's like cattle, and it's one of those things where
real actors over here, you guys over here.
Yeah, I mean, basically, real actors can go wherever the hell they want. You stand in that 3-foot box, don't move, and you're waited till you're picked, and it's like, oh, you look right, come over here, and we're gonna.
I like the cut of your jib.
It's moving furniture. You're literally living furniture when you're a background, and people can make a hell of a career off of it. God bless them. There are people that make a living off of background work, but you're living furniture, and so I was picked in this, and again, I'm seated next to this actress that they picked who, funnily enough, over the course of 3 days, we learned we worked 2 floors apart. She worked at WBCN while I was at ZLX. So she was in the first floor, I was in the third floor. So we're bullshitting and talking, and then the first day we were doing the scene, Michael Douglas was at the bar giving one of his, telling this kid how to pick up chicks type of monologue. It's the 80s, and he's a ladies man type of deal. And
hi, Cheryl.
we just
Duke's been on the show before.
oh, cute dog.
Hi, Duke.
Hi, Duke.
Yeah, usually the lights are on. That's what Duke's freaking out about,
Okay.
probably.
What's going on, Duke?
He just hears the voices. And of course, I wore all black.
Right. I know I couldn't be darker either. Hi, Duke. Speaking of ghosts.
So,
Bye, Cheryl.
so they do a couple takes, and apparently they realized that while Michael Douglas is doing his 2-minute speech, I was clearly right over his shoulder. So it was the first time, like, out of doing extra work, that an actual director came up to me. Normally, you're dealing with production assistants or whoever, assistant directors and stuff like that, because the director's actually dealing with what's on the camera. Again, he's not talking to the furniture. So the director comes over and so he's got me and the girl, and he's like, look, you guys are right on camera, so if you're comfortable, we'd like it if you two were kind of just all over each other. It's like it's a singles, it's a swingers singles club. And it was one of those moments where you kind of have to glare at the person and be like, are you okay with this? It's like, and as someone who's done extra work before, in the back of your head, if you say no, they're going to pick someone that's going to do it. So it's either you're in the movie or you're going home for the day.
Right.
So we go, yeah, sure, whatever. So again, it's one of those things. Yeah, I spent 3 days making out with a girl on the couch. It's a hard business.
And they paid you? No, that's how you do it.
Right? So we're doing that, and that was the first day. We go through, and then the next day was the second and third day were more fun for me, just because of the interaction.
More fun than that?
Yeah, just because that's all well and good.
No, I'm
but there's an art to it. There's a technical art to it. You can't block the camera.
No tongue.
You got to position a certain way, and you have to stand up and leave, so you got to position her leg in a certain spot. Whatever. But there was one of the actresses, one of the lead actresses in the scene. At the time, I'm like, I knew her face.
Can you say the name or no?
I will in a second.
Oh, you're getting to it. I'm sorry.
So I knew her face. I just didn't know who the hell she was, and I didn't know where I knew her from. So that first day, I go home and I Google the movie and see who's in it and try to piece it together. I'm like, oh, so she was a daughter in an episode that aired 2 weeks prior of Lucky Louie. Lucky Louie,
I love that show.
Was Louis C.K.'s one season on HBO.
Yes.
And very funny throwback to old sitcom-y type of way he was
Jim
filming
Norton was
it.
in that,
Jim
too.
Norton was in it. Very funny show. So she played the daughter of his friend in one episode. And I'm like, oh,
And
okay.
you remembered her.
Well, I remember it just aired 2 weeks earlier.
That's phenomenal.
She was memorable because she came in and I listened to the Rewatchables. I don't know if you do. It's a movie podcast with Bill Simmons, and they have this,
I like Bill
this
Simmons.
category.
Sports Bill Simmons, that guy?
Sports Bill Simmons, yeah, he does a movie
man, I
podcast
didn't
called
know
The
that.
Rewatchables, and he has a category called Heat Check Moment, which is like the guy that comes off the bench and drains like 15 3-pointers and he's gone in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She was like the ultimate heat check. She came into the
great.
scene, dropped the C word like 15 times
course,
in
always, yeah.
like 7 minutes and was done. I'm like it was memorable.
No wonder you didn't
Right.
forget.
So day 2, we're doing the thing, same routine, all that stuff. But Michael Douglas wasn't there because they were filming the other side of it. And we would stop, and after a while you just get comfortable, so you start wandering. And they were watching playback, and I'm sitting there watching it with them. I just kind of wandered over to the monitors. I wasn't supposed to be there. You're again, I'm a chair. The chair doesn't matter to watch playback. But fuck it, I'm walking over there.
Yeah, why not?
So I'm standing next to her, and she's in full makeup from the movie, and she kind of chuckles and she looks over and kind of like gave me a nudge, like, oh, look at that, like talking about me making out with the girl.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah. So we're walking back to the set to do the next take, And as we're walking, I got comfortable enough. I go, oh, by the way, I loved your Lucky Louie episode. And she turns and she goes, oh my God, thank you so much. That was so much fun. I can't believe it just aired and we're doing this and blah, 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 blah. Emma Stone.
What?
It was before she was the Emma Stone, but it was Emma Stone.
Wow.
So it was like that was day 2.
Holy, that was day 2.
Day 2.
Jesus.
Day 3, we go down to the basement of this club and it's a cloud of smoke. I go, oh, it's McConaughey's day. Okay. All right.
Here we go. I'm just still flabbergasted that Emma Stone was in Lucky Louie.
Yeah, she had that like 1 or 2 episodes, and she was the daughter in that. She was a teenage daughter that came in dropping C-bombs.
Damn.
Yeah, very, very, very funny. And I couldn't, like, again, in the moment, she was just this other actress. Like I didn't even know her name. I just knew that she was the Lucky Louie actor.
And that's how you referenced her. Hey, you were great.
You were Lucky Louie.
Right.
Like I didn't, I probably at the time didn't even remember her first name. Yeah. She was just the girl in Lucky Louie.
That's all you are sometimes.
But now she turned into one of our greatest actresses, Emma Stone. And so the third day, as our last day shooting there, and go through a whole day, same deal. And McConaughey's doing his stuff, and Emma Stone is part of his scene as well, so she's there doing her thing. And we wrap for the day, and we're leaving. And I'm walking down the street. I'm heading towards Boylston Street to catch my train. And the trailers, all the movie trailers for the actors are lining this. I forget what street Saint was on, but lining this street heading towards Boylston. And I'm walking and I'm messing around on my phone. I'm probably texting my cousin or whoever, talking about the day or something like that. And door opens up and, man walks out and starts keeping pace with me walking towards Boylston. And I just, again, I pick my head up from my phone. Love the fact that I'm sitting there just keeping pace with McConaughey and not paying attention because I'm on my friggin' phone. And I look up and it's him.
Hey, Matt, I'm on the phone. Leave me alone.
Yeah. And I look up and it's him. And again, there's, when you're doing extra work, there's that unwritten rule. You don't talk to the actors, you don't talk to them unless they talk to you first type of thing. But we were done.
It's over.
They can't fire me. I'm already done for the day.
You've already met with the girl on camera. You're right.
Yeah. So we're walking and I look over and it's him and he kind of looks over at me and I just go, oh, hey, man, good working with you this week. Yeah, like he fucking remembers me, okay? I'm the guy on the couch making out. He's Matthew McConaughey, okay. But he's gracious about it. He goes, oh, yeah, man, it was a good time. And he looks me up and down, and I just happened to be in my cowboy boot phase at the time. So I was wearing cowboy boots. And he looks down, he goes, oh, man, those boots, they wardrobes? And I go, no, they're mine. He goes, oh, all right, man, those are nice. And then as he's saying that, you just hear a shrills from behind us. And we both look back, and there's all the female extras basically stampeding towards him. and I look at him, I go, well, you have a good rest of your day. He goes, all right, man, you do the same. And then just took off. And I'm like, and it's one of those things that like, I love moments like that, not because it's a very cool, fun story and I get to do my McConaughey accent badly, but
if
like it would have been so like I could have just been like, oh shit, you're Matthew McConaughey, let's grab a selfie, like all the girls did.
Yeah,
all the girls ran up and took a big group photo with him, and that got posted to Facebook and all that stuff. I actually I appreciate having that quick little brief chat that I can tell that story instead of being like, let's take a photo awkwardly and you don't want to be here and I don't want to be here, but let's have this memory that you're never going to see again and I'm going to get likes on. It's like I went to the opening of the first Wahlburgers years ago and got a picture with Mark Wahlberg. Didn't say 2 words to the man, but I got a picture with him and it's got 1 million likes or whatever the fuck it has, on social media. But I love my McConaughey story a hell of a lot more than the few brief interactions I've had with Mark Wahlberg.
Sure.
Nothing against him, but I just don't know the man. Right. I can't speak to the man. You know what I mean? I haven't shared 2 words with him besides, hey, can I get a photo?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, there's nothing personal about that. But I can say, Matthew McConaughey liked my choice in cowboy boots.
And he actually initiated that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he didn't need to. He could have just told me, good, okay.
Yeah, right.
Moving on, weirdo.
I got girls to hang
you're the guy on the couch. I know what you did. But yeah, but fine. So that's a long way of me saying that when I did this movie like a month or so ago, I was actually an actor on it, not a background actor. I was
You weren't the couch.
No, I wasn't the couch. I was basically in the Emma Stone role from that last story.
Okay.
So it's amazing when, you know, and again, I've been into filmmaking and acting my entire life. You know, as a child doing plays in school and shit like that. And so to get to that point where you're actually on a movie set being treated like a real actor, you know, like walking around and everyone knows your name without being introduced to you. You realize it's because I was one of 2 actual actors on set and they passed your photo around to tell everybody to know this guy's name. Okay, fine. I don't care if you cheat. It's just still cool.
It doesn't
you know
matter.
What I mean? You know, having stuff like having your own trailer for a day is neat.
Sure it is.
It's neat. It's one of those things that, it's cool that the check cleared and it's cool that I got paid to do it. But like, I appreciate those types of moments so much. Especially being such a lover of film, such a film geek, being on set and walking around, being able to go to the prop table and pick out my prop and, you know, mess around with that, or walking back to my trailer and seeing the storyboard set up and just kind of poking around and looking at that and talking to the director and giving my input on what I think this scene should be like because he asked me to do it. It's like, that's awesome. That shit's awesome. I would pay to do that. Not right now because I'm unemployed, but you know, in a normal situation.
Not today, but you know.
Not today, but yeah. I mean, so it's stuff like that. Like again, when going through what we're all going through with COVID and stuff, it's like as a creative person, like I said earlier, it's nice to be able to use your brain once in a while because we don't do it enough these days. At least I don't.
I still don't. Yeah.
At least I don't. Like I said, and you know, I had to find some weird hidden editing thing within a video game just to have fun with it. You know what I mean? Because even the video game was mind numbing at a certain point.
But isn't it funny how that led to I mean, it's crazy when you really go back to the origins of something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, that's where you get into the rabbit holes.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And my ADD doesn't help.
No, it probably doesn't. Right.
No. And I'm pretty sure every social media or video site online knows all about my ADD because that algorithm has me locked in. You might like this. You're damn right I would.
Right?
Let's play that for a while. Okay, you might like this. Absolutely. Oh, it's 6 a.m. and I haven't gone to sleep yet? Guess I'm washing this day.
I'm not going to like it. I'm going to love it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I also appreciate that I commented on one of your posts about The Mandalorian.
Oh, yes.
How great was that season 2 opener?
Yeah. I love the first season. And that's the funny story about that was, so of course during October, you know, I only allow myself to watch horror movies because again I'm weird and I have OCDs
And strict.
Yeah. I have my rules. It's good to have a code. Man in this world gotta have a code.
That's right. Doesn't have to
Omar
be a good
from The
one.
Wire. So finally, you know, I wrapped up horror month and had November 2nd all lined up. Nothing to do all day. Great. Season 2, Mandalorian. Knew it came out. Sit down, watch the first episode. Awesome. All excited. Game on. Episode 2. Isn't there.
Did you think it would be?
I spaced.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Like I said, I planned out I freed up an entire day.
Oh, for the
Mandalorian. I was going to
season.
binge the whole season,
Oh,
and then I
man.
get to the end of the first episode, and that play next episode didn't come up, and I'm like,
never came up.
wonder what happened. So I go back and I go to Disney Plus, and I click back on the Mandalorian, and it's like, it's a week-to-week show.
Did you watch the first season?
Oh yeah, but I binged it.
You binged. All right, I get it.
I binged it.
I get it. Yeah.
And I completely just spaced. I you know, again, I don't use my brain enough anymore, so it's not. It's slow. it's at a crawl.
It's going to run until Christmas.
Yeah,
That's all.
yeah, exactly. And I was like, oh, it sucks. Because on top of it, I knew my brother wasn't going to watch it week to week, and I wanted to talk to him about it, and because he again, he has his own set of rules, and he's like, I'm going to wait and binge it.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, probably better off. But that first episode was amazing.
I could never binge it. I need to watch it.
And that's the tough part. There's some shows that lend itself to week to week, like where they leave you on such a good cliffhanger that you're that anticipation all week. And then there's others where it's like, if I don't binge through it, I'm probably not going to go back to it. Like I just again because of COVID, I just watched the last 2 seasons of The Walking Dead.
Oh wow!
Because I lost complete interest 2 seasons ago, and had nothing else to watch. So I'm like, what the hell?
I'll revisit it.
I'll catch up, I guess. And sure enough, watching it through binging, I'm like, if I was watching this week to week, you could pick. There's like more episodes that I would have bailed on than not. Westworld was a good example where it's a great show, especially the first season. I love the first season
correct?
of HBO's Westworld, but there's so many storylines and flashbacks and flash forwards and different characters and stuff that if I was watching it week to week, I know I would have been confused. So I remember when the first season came out, basically took a Sunday and watched 8 to 10 hours of Westworld. And it was like, this is great. And then the next week, I'm like, what the hell happened?
Yep. I always say the first 5 minutes of the previously.
Yep.
That's when I am glued to the because I'm
Yep.
like, I missed that.
Yeah. And more nowadays, because, half the time we miss half the episode on our phones.
Right.
Inadvertently.
True.
I'm the worst at that. It's like, I'll just be sitting there and messing around on my phone and Facebook and texting friends. And all of a sudden I'll be like, I missed the whole episode. Okay, start over.
Yeah. Good. Those R2D2 or you doing the remote control?
That was
Either way, it was good.
Either way.
R2D2 doing the remote control. See, I find with The Mandalorian, if I didn't watch that episode, I would have. There's been so much talk about it.
Well, that's the other part.
And I have to know. I go to the movies for the big Marvel stuff and DC stuff the day it premieres because I don't want to learn anything.
Yeah. Avoiding spoilers.
You can't. It's tough.
Is such a struggle. And luck. My brother has the lucky factor that he's really not on social media.
Wow.
So he can avoid it for the most part. Like he has to go looking for it to find spoilers, basically. But like I'm on all the time,
right?
And it's like, and some of my friends are just dicks, and they're just going to post it regardless,
right?
So yeah, it's one of those things. Plus, I do a movie podcast, so I got to talk about it. It was like when Infinity War first came out, we went and saw it, and we didn't have it scheduled to be the movie that week, and we're sitting there recording something else, and I'm like, we have to talk about Infinity War. It's like we can't be the last guys
to talk
about it.
Right.
It's the biggest movie at the time.
Yes.
But yeah, that first episode of The Mandalorian, it's like, I even told my brothers, it's like, one of the cool things about what they do with this show is each episode can be its standalone thing. Like it had a beginning, middle, and end to that episode. And while it does carry into the rest of the season, it's not in the sense that it's a massive cliffhanger.
Yes.
That if you watch it, it's like, oh my God, I have to watch next week now. And then
Well, look at the last episode of season 1. That easily could have just.
Yeah.
That was not a major cliffhanger. It's picking up right where it left off.
Right. And that's also
which
part
I'm
of,
okay with.
Part of what they're doing and the for lack of a better term, Western style that they're making the show is it lends itself to this, this traveling gunfighter, and he's going from town to town and getting in adventures, but these adventures are very self-contained. While we might see the characters from this first episode pop up in and again, I'm trying to tiptoe around not spoiling things.
I got to tell you this. This isn't going to premiere till January.
Oh shit!
I've already got things, so we can talk about it.
Okay, so
yes,
Timothy Oliphant is probably going to show up later in the season,
right?
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And
yes.
So okay, so now
you
I
can
know
talk
that.
about the guy at the end of the episode too.
Yeah,
by all means.
So it's like when he got to Tatooine and was in that bar, and then Oliphant comes in, and I literally yelled at the TV. I go, "Are they really doing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?" And he grabs the drink and sits at the table and just recreated the Lancer scene and instead of Leonardo DiCaprio, you had Mandalorian. And I'm like, he's doing Lancer in Star Wars. I'm all about this.
Did you know who the bartender was?
No.
He was the bartender in Deadwood with Oliphant.
That's even better. I didn't know that.
Yes.
I didn't know that. I picked up the the one voice I picked up immediately because
Easily. I know you're going to say.
John Leguizamo.
Yep, you couldn't miss
I'm
it.
like, they show up to this fight, and I'm like, oh, it's Benny Blanco from the Bronx.
Benny Blanco, I love
Carlito's
that.
Way.
Yes.
They go out, Benny Blanco from the Bronx. It's like, you ain't gonna fool me, Carlito.
He might as well just not have any makeup on or anything because that was John Leguizamo. It was Benny Blanco.
Benny Blanco, yeah. But it's cool that they get guys like that for like the one-off roles.
And they want to do it. Their kids love this stuff. Who doesn't want to be in it?
Of course they do. I mean, not only is it, Star Wars, and who doesn't want to be in a Star Wars movie that's of our age that grew up on that stuff, but it's also like they're doing great things over there.
Yeah.
I mean, what Favreau and Filoni are doing with this Mandalorian, like we talked about on that movie show, it's like I'm all in with like Disney just giving them the keys.
Take them.
Like,
so is Lucas, by the way.
Of course. Well, of course. I mean, he's been on set many times. He's been consulting on this show. And I love that because,
We're 3 trains in. 3 trains in. This is pretty good.
We are. It's a 3-trainer. I like it.
Quick question, though. Before we get into that, I want to know, at the end of the season, you have Disney Plus, obviously. If you go into the extras for season 1, have you watched all the gallery?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I love that shit.
That's amazing.
Those round tables.
I love those.
Especially, they filtered people in and out, and
Yes.
I'm a massive Taika Waititi fan.
Yes.
So having him like a huge part of this.
He was the voice of the droid in
He's the
season
voice
1.
of the droid, and he directed a bunch of the episodes.
Yeah.
I just watched, I have Adobe for my editing softwares and stuff like that. And part of it is they do like little webinars and stuff for if you subscribe to Adobe, you get little access to this stuff. And he did like a couple weeks ago what was called like an inspirational webinar. And I love it. Like he started out, and I'm definitely stealing this line. That is a loud train. Man.
Right, seriously, some louder than others. That must be the southbound one.
And I'm totally stealing it as like an introductory line where it's, hi, I'm Mike. It's like an alcoholic AA meeting.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, I'm Mike Wendt, and I'm a creative person. And that's how he started. He goes, I am Taika Waititi. I'm a creative person. He's like, wow, it's like an AA meeting. And I'm like, I'm definitely stealing that. I'm ripping that one right off. But I'll give him credit. But yeah, love him. I think his style is fantastic. They're going to give him Star Wars movies to make, which is great. He reinvigorated the Thor franchise, which was dead after Dark World.
He was Korg, right?
He was Korg, but he directed it too. And wrote
right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and he was Korg, which is, again,
He's like Hitchcock. He puts
amazing, stupid character.
I love Korg.
Sitting there playing video games. Fucking Korg, man.
So great.
It's like, no, we're good, mate.
Endgame was probably my favorite movie, one of my favorite movies of all time. It really was.
And I love, again, most of it's because of Taika Waititi. I love what they've done with Thor. Like, I was hit or miss with the first Thor.
Didn't like it.
Second one, I was all out.
Yep.
And then it's like all of a sudden he took over and Thor became fun.
Ragnarok.
And it became a different character. And then in Infinity War, my favorite parts of Infinity War are what I've dubbed Thor and his space adventures with his friends Tree and Rabbit.
Tree and Rabbit.
Give me a 10-part Netflix series of those three getting an intergalactic adventures, and I'm a happy boy.
I'll watch every one of them.
Fast forward to Endgame, and we got Thor Lebowski. All in.
I have a T-shirt of Fat Thor. Everyone loves it when I wear it. I can't. People won't leave me alone about it. It's amazing.
I mean, I'm weird with movies. Like I pick out weird shit to find either funny or interesting and stuff. And the line in Endgame where Thor is about to explain what the red stone that went into Natalie Portman. He's like, well, first of all, it's not a stone; it's kind of a goo. He gets up and he's going to start explaining it, and Downey is like, well, why don't you take a seat, man? You want some water, some eggs? Like, no, I'll have a Bloody Mary. And I was like, I don't know why, but when he says I'll have a Bloody Mary, I laugh my ass off. I'm like, that's one of the stupidest things ever.
But it's the best.
It's the best. It's like he's just hammered the whole time.
But Ragnarok is where they said, you know what? Let's let Hemsworth do what he does.
Yeah.
He's a funny guy. Yeah. I don't care how good looking. He's funny as hell, and he's the perfect Thor, I believe.
Yeah.
And I do like Thor better with the short hair.
Well, it's also, yeah, I mean, I take or leave it. I mean,
I know the character in the comics has long hair all the time, but I just not all the time. But
what you could see, because even like after Dark World and then they did the Avengers movie, Hemsworth was very public about being done after his contract ran out, and it was Ragnarok that made him re-sign, and it was, you could see he's having fun doing this.
Oh, totally.
Which is important, because making a movie like this, and I talked to Chris Evans on Wicked Bites years ago, right around Age of Ultron came out. It's a grind. Where you have fun making movies, sure, but it's also long.
Well, you sat in a chair for how many hours for
just for a commercial that's going to air in Rhode Island? I was in the chair for 3.5 hours in and an hour and a half out, and that wasn't even filming time. That's just putting makeup on and taking it off.
Right.
So yeah, and they're long days, and long days turn into long weeks, and long weeks. On these Marvel movies, they're filming these things for months sometimes. I mean, they did Infinity War and Endgame back to back. They were probably filming for over a year.
Yeah.
Filming for over a year. So having fun is important. Liking what you do is important, especially again, going back to being a creative person. We don't do good with like job type jobs because we get bored very quickly. Mm-hmm. So if you see this a lot with TV actors, if they get stuck in the same role, there's certain points where it's like if they're not having fun and the creativity isn't pushing them, you'll see it in the quality of the show. The show will dip down because the actors are bored. The creative people are bored now, and they're just kind of coasting. Sometimes it's because ratings are great. Sometimes it's because they're winning awards. Sometimes it's just because they're making so much money that, all right, well, I guess I'll show up to work again today and clear $1.5 million. All right, cool. When's lunch? But you can tell there's a complete difference when a creative person is enjoying what they're doing and they're a part of the creative process, which clearly Hemsworth was with Taika Waititi with Ragnarok, and then going forward he took that character and just the stuff with Rocket and Groot, and then in Infinity War, and then the full transformation in Endgame, which was awesome. Yeah. And it was one of those things, and I don't follow the comics. Like I'm watching the movies. I know nothing about the comic books. But like I love the fact that at the end, when they're in that battle with Thanos and he all of a sudden turns into Thor, they didn't slim him down. They didn't all of a sudden the lightning cracks and he's got abs and short hair. It's like, no, he was still a fat guy. It was just he had armor over his fat, Like I love that. It's like they kept with it, and then they ended the movie, which I cannot wait, because they ended the movie with him jumping on the Guardian ship. So we get more Tree Rabbit and Thor.
Exactly.
And James Gunn is another one, much like Taika Waititi. James Gunn is another one of my favorite filmmakers, just because it's a guy that clearly is having fun with what he does. And the stuff he did with Guardians was so off the wall that it just worked. It was so different from Iron Man, Captain America, Thor. It's like, oh, and here's this weird shit over here, And now they gave him Suicide Squad. He's dipping his toe in both pools. He's got DC. He's got Marvel. He's doing all of it great. And I love the fact, just more on a personal love of independent cinema, that James Gunn came from Troma. He's a Troma guy. That's why Lloyd Kaufman was in the first Guardians movie.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, I mean that's why he got so when the cancel culture went after James Gunn before Endgame, it was because he was making jokes from years and years and years ago. And it's like, I was working for Troma, man. It's like, this was the type of humor we were doing.
I had no idea.
And that's a whole other box of bananas. But it's like, his explanation was perfect, because it wasn't like he was coming out and apologizing. He's like, no, it was a joke that I made back then when I was working for this company, that was the brand of humor we were on.
Can you just tell people who don't know what Troma is?
Troma is an independent film company run by Lloyd Kaufman in New York. The creators of The Toxic Avenger. That's probably the most known thing. But they make no-budget movies, and they've been doing it for 40, 50 years. And some of them are really good. Some of them are not so good.
Right.
But the good ones are like, if you like independent, schlocky, fluid-based humor.
And the Toxic Avenger has a series. There's more than one of them.
There's four of them. There's four movies, a musical, and it was an old animated TV series.
I don't know about the musical. That's great.
Yeah. It was a Broadway musical. Like, bonkers that stuff like that happens.
It's a cult following.
It is. But yeah, towards the fourth Toxic Avenger movie was around when James Gunn was with him, because he wrote, I think, Tromeo and Juliet. He was involved with another one called Terra Firma, which is another one of my favorite Troma movies. But yeah, so it was like that was the brand of humor, and he also was like, he's like, yeah, and Disney knew about it when they signed me for the first Guardians. I had to explain. They have a vetting process, obviously. They're not just going to give a Marvel franchise to someone who's a problem,
right.
A social problem. So he's like, they knew about it. But now because and I love the phrase, because the tweets resurfaced, also known as you Googled?
It's the worst.
You Googled him?
Seriously.
You got bored? It's like, it was stupid. And clearly it meant nothing because they rehired him.
Yeah.
You know, they fired him for a couple weeks and everyone went batshit, and like the whole cast of Guardians was like, well, you might as well fire all of us too. You know, and then by that point they had already been given the Suicide Squad, which I like the fact that he didn't budge on that, because they hired him back for Guardians 3 and he's like, well, you're going to now have to wait because I'm already doing this. And so now Guardians 3 has to wait till after Suicide Squad is done, which, again, I wasn't a fan of the Suicide Squad that came out a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
This one looks great.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is, because again, it's if you're a fan of a director's certain brand of style, you can spot it from a mile away. And watching the first trailer, I'm like, oh, this is a James Gunn movie. I'm all in. This is great. See, John Cena's playing an asshole version of Captain America. Yes.
How great is that? No, I actually like the first Suicide Squad. Or what is it called? It was just called Suicide Squad. Yeah. This is the Suicide Squad. What didn't you like about it?
It was a mess.
In what way?
It was a mess. It was a typical DC movie up until this point, which was which we've covered many times on that movie show. My feeling is DC decided that they were going to get into the expanded universe game by the time Age of Ultron was coming out from Marvel. So Marvel already had about a dozen films under their belt. DC decided, well, we need to get to that point now. So instead of doing the right thing and building their characters, they were like, let's get to the finish line now, and then we'll backtrack in the next few movies. Which is why, you know, I liked Man of Steel, but then again, they tried to make Batman vs. Superman basically their Avengers movie. Which it shouldn't have been. That should have been the Batman movie, because they were, you know, we start each character from their point of origin. That's why we've seen the Wayne family die outside that theater 47,000 times. Yeah. Which my co-host Eddie, that's his personal hell. Like when he dies and he goes to hell, he's going to be riding a bus that's only showing Wayne deaths over and over and over and over again.
Pearls flying. Yep.
Pearls and various different forms of killers.
Right.
I like Jack Napier from the Tim Burton Batman, but that's just my personal favorite Wayne family death.
Sure.
You know? But yeah, I feel that DC was like I said, they were at the finish line trying to work their way back, as opposed to starting the race and just taking their own time and doing it. You know, there's a reason that Marvel has made I think now with the last Spider-Man and now Black Widow, probably 24, 25 movies. And one or two were like misses. You know, we talked about Dark World, and I'm sure there might have been one other. I think Iron Man 3 wasn't, 2 and 3 weren't really revered.
They were better than Thor, though.
Yeah, the second Thor was definitely the sore thumb in the group. It's like, cut that off. But it's one of those things, like they've gone 25 movies with very few misses, and that was actually something that Chris Evans said when I interviewed him. Because I asked him, because it was right before we caught him like a week too early. It was right before he could start talking about Age of Ultron. So I'm like, you got Ultron coming up. What can you tell us? He's like, nothing. I'm like, Cool.
Nice.
I'm glad I watch movies because I remember you made this really emotional relationship movie called London, and we talked about that. I got Captain America. I'm talking about some indie relationship movie. But
That's so Mike.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm such a geek. But at the end of the interview, I'm like, look, you got to give me something. I'm like, why should I go pay money to see Age of Ultron? And I can't argue with his point. He's like, it's Marvel. They really haven't missed a step yet. And I'm like,
hey, you asked him for something.
Checks in the mail, man.
Yep, he earned it. That was good.
That's a good one.
That's a good answer. And he's right, though.
He's right.
But he's right.
He's right. And that's what DC should have done. There's also no Kevin Feige at DC. And Kevin Feige is like the figurehead of Marvel. And he's dictating how this story's going to go, and that's why they're planning their movies 5 years in advance. They have. I think we just wrapped up Phase 4. They already have Phase 6 planned.
Crazy, isn't it?
And people are like, "You need to get the X-Men in now." He's like, "Don't worry, we got it planned. Calm down,
relax.
people. Yes, Deadpool will show up, just not tomorrow."
Let's get through WandaVision first.
Seriously, that looks weird.
It does.
It looks weird. I'm kind of in
one.
on it. I don't know what it's about.
I'm gonna watch it. You have
Comic
to watch
book people
it, though.
seem very excited.
But you have to watch it because it's going to lead to something else.
Of course. Well, that's the cool part. Is all
She-Hulk.
Yeah, all of this stuff is going to be intertwined into the movie.
Yeah.
Which was kind of a
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did that.
Yeah, kind of
To a little extent.
To a little extent.
Not like this.
Not like this. And more importantly, the Netflix Marvel stuff had nothing to do with it, which was a shame. But I've heard that we're going to get the Daredevil from Netflix, and I think Bernthal's going to do the Punisher when they get to that type of thing, which he was fantastic in. But I also like the Tom Jane Punisher. I'm not going to lie.
I saw that in the theater.
Yeah.
Travolta was in that too.
Yeah, and yeah, it was that was
Battlefield Earth.
That was one of the last, like, Travolta had that Pulp Fiction run where he came back. And I'm old school Travolta fan. Like I was as a kid, I loved Grease and all that stuff. Like I'm a Travolta fan, so I'm always rooting for the guy. He has a lot of misses, especially recently. Don't go watch The Fanatic or Gotti.
I watched Fanatic.
Oh,
I watched it.
Hated that movie.
The premise seems so great.
It did. Again, I'm rooting for him. I'm like, great premise.
I wanted to love that movie.
And I'm just like, oh, that's a lot of bad choices you're making.
I won't watch Gotti.
Yeah, and Gotti.
I already know it. I've already seen it. I've seen it with good people. Not
the Armand Assante one was amazing.
I loved Armand Assante as him.
It was amazing.
So great.
Very few people know about it because it was an HBO
was an
original
movie,
in the
yes.
90s when they weren't really doing that.
I remember putting it on the side of the wall there as you need to watch it.
Video stores. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah. The Fanatic was terrible,
It really was.
and Gotti felt like to me the Gotti one felt like they ran out of money, so they were using stock footage to fix problems. That's how I felt. It wasn't like they were using real news footage as a creative choice. It was like, this is like a 3-minute news segment.
Because we have no choice.
You're filling time to get 90 minutes out of this.
Come on, 3 more minutes.
Like this could have been a 20-minute short film, but Travolta's in it.
But the Fanatic did bother me because I'm like, this is the one.
It was horrible.
This is the one. I'm going to watch it before the word gets out. Yeah. I'm going to be the guy telling people to watch it. Yeah.
No.
And no.
Terrible. Terrible.
I love the premise, though.
It's a shame. And the premise is great. It's misery. It's I'm your biggest fan.
Yeah. Yeah. You actually, you know what? I never thought of that. You're right. Yeah. When you boil it down to that.
It's a very simple premise that works very well.
Give me an autograph. No.
But the Devon Sawa character, the actor, should have been sympathetic. He was an asshole from the start and a wife beater and just a terrible human being. Right. And it's like, I'd kind of want him to die.
I won't be bothered.
And they made Travolta, who was supposed to be the villain, when they decided to give him a nondescript mental illness, made him the sympathetic character. And it's like, well, now I kind of feel bad that he murdered the maid because he really didn't know any better. And then it's like at the end, Devon Sawa gets arrested. And it's like, oh, this could have been cleared up with one conversation. It's like, you're under arrest. No. You see this guy who's dead right here? My maid is out back with her head bludgeoned. He did it. He's been stalking me. He drugged me. He tied me to a bed. Like, why am I in handcuffs right now?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, simple 10-second but no. And then all of a sudden the first end credit pops up and you understand exactly why it was a mess.
Yeah.
Written and directed by Fred Durst.
I knew that going in.
I didn't.
See, I did.
I didn't.
I watched it despite that.
I was like, ugh. that explains it.
But I did know that, I wanted to love it. I've been to many Comic-Cons, and I can see how people would be like that.
Oh, sure.
And I
Very
wanted,
easy premise.
It is, but I thought it would work, and it could have been done so much better, I thought.
Well, it has been with Misery.
Yeah, good point. Fair enough.
I mean, even the De Niro Wesley Snipes movie,
The Fan, yes.
was a better version of this.
But The Fan wasn't. Once they hit the baseball field, I just lost it. I just lost it. They had me up until the game. They did. It just made no sense to me.
Well, it's just seeing it made me wish that Wesley Snipes was in Major League 2.
He what? Wait.
He was in the first one.
Oh, it was Omar Epps was in it.
Omar Epps.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Everyone but Wesley.
Wesley thought he was too big for the movie.
He was. That's right. I remember that.
Yeah. Which was a shame because I loved the little Black Lightning White Thunder Black Lightning bit with Jesse Ventura in it. The fake movie trailer that Willie Mays Hayes made in the second one.
I don't remember that.
Oh, it was crap. But this time it was crap by design.
Okay.
It was like Willie Mays Hayes wanted to be an actor, an action star, and him and Jesse the Body Ventura made a movie called Black Lightning Black Hammer, Black Hammer, White Lightning.
That's phenomenal.
Was the name of the movie, and the punch at the end of the trailer was the two of them standing face to face with their machine guns up and going, "Mine fell the hardest. Mine are the deadest."
Cut it
Clink
out.
the guns together like a cheers.
I don't remember that at all.
Sucks.
I saw that movie once. I don't remember that at all.
Oh, and that's another one. Like, there's I have a few friends where we can talk for days in nothing but movie quotes. It's a weird tick that lasts for days, but. Like there's anytime there's like a crap, like even my friend today asked me about it. He asked about Tenet, the Christopher Nolan movie that just came out for like 20 minutes.
Oh yes, Denzel's kid.
Yeah, it looked great, but he insisted on it being released in theaters, so nobody saw it.
What?
Who insists on a theater release during a global pandemic? Christopher Nolan, because he shot it in IMAX, and I understand it to a point, but it's like, dude, hold it.
Yes.
But yeah, so what I said to him, he's like, "Have you heard anything about Tenet?" I go, "Well, I did hear it was released for about 2.5 hours, but it was in focus," which was a line from Major League 2 about the Black Hammer, White Lightning movie.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I tried to go see his movie, but it was only released for an hour and a half. I did hear it was in focus, though. Bob Uecker.
Buke.
Yeah. Harry Doyle.
They got everybody back.
Drunken voice of the Indians.
Just a bit outside.
Yeah. It was fantastic. That's funny because we covered on the movie show, we covered Major League, and that's another one that did very well for us. Like, surprisingly. Like that's and surprisingly being like I said, the bad movies do better. And I was like, that seems too good of a movie to do well for us. And we had a lot of fun talking about it. Like,
see, that doesn't surprise. I know what you're saying with the bad movies, but
yeah.
Major League was just a fun movie all around.
Oh yeah, it was very good, and gave us Ricky Vaughn, Mr.
Ricky
Charlie
Vaughn.
Sheen.
That was great.
Yeah, oh buddy, Charlie Sheen.
I love that movie. Renee Russo was the.
She was
Renee
the
Russo,
love
yes.
interest of Tom Berenger,
and she was topless in Thomas Crown Affair with Pierce Brosnan.
She was.
Yes.
Yes. Very few people saw that one besides us video store guys.
See, I used to be Mr. Skin before Mr. Skin. I knew I could. If I knew before then, I would be making so much money off that. I was the guy when people wanted to see boobs.
Well, see, as I'm glad you brought up Mr. Skin, because as someone who deals in movies online with the movie show, and we have it on YouTube, and every episode we include the trailer of that movie. Now, for my limited amateur legal knowledge, that falls under fair use because it's we're reviewing it. It's not the full movie. Blah 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 blah. Again, limited legal knowledge. Every single one of them gets slapped with a copyright claim on YouTube, and I dispute it, and some get let go, and I'm allowed to keep it up, and others I have to trim that little clip out. No big deal. Not breaking my ass. Then I see something like Mr. Skin, who has like every movie ever on a pay website. How is that legal? And I've wondered that since the 90s.
I don't know.
How does he get away with just uploading portions of movies to his website without paying royalties? There's no way he's paying royalties to every movie that's ever had a nude scene.
No, you're right, because it's astronomical.
Millions and millions of dollars, not whatever he's charging for his subscriptions. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's weird stuff like that. Like, obviously, he's got good lawyers. I don't. You know what I mean? So that probably plays into it. But yeah, it's a
good point.
Brain works weird like that.
But
like, I see stuff like that. I'm like, how's he getting away with it?
What am I doing wrong?
What am I doing wrong?
What is he doing right?
I'm not peddling in the nude business, apparently.
No, that's funny. I never thought of that. Yeah, you're right. He does. He has all access.
Well, the only reason I think of it is because I get hit with those copyright claims.
Now, what is it? It's a trailer that's been.
Well, I mean, technically, I don't have permission or license to use it. That's what it is. I didn't. It's no different.
Then why can you talk about it?
What do you mean?
Well, why can you talk about it?
We can talk about whatever the hell we want. It's America, pal.
USA.
In America, we can talk about whatever, goddamn freedom of speech. But no, you can talk about it because you can talk about it. It's showing it. That is where the and again there is a fair use thing, and that's what I always claim, because reading what what little I've read on fair use, what I'm doing falls under that, and clearly, because a lot of the times, I would say 7 out of 10 episodes gets cleared, and I'm allowed to keep the trailer up there. And there's that 3. Warner Brothers is usually a stickler about it.
Are they?
Yeah, it. You can see if you do it enough, which I'm on 100 and something episodes now of the movie show. You see it enough that you can see like the studios that allow it, and the studio Disney's cool. So all our Star Wars stuff, all the Marvel stuff, that's the 4th train.
I love the train.
That's all cool. Universal's pretty cool about it. Warner Brothers is really not. Like there's always comes back with take it down, and which is it's fine. It's a very simple click, 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 and it trims the trailer out. It's not like we're pasting the movie all over the show by design, because that would be a pain in the ass to go back and have to re-edit the entire thing and no, too much work. Too much work for a silly podcast.
So you take the shot, and hopefully you get to keep it up. Yeah. Whereas if I played a song, I wouldn't even know that I was off. I was.
Oh, music's a whole different.
They would
animal,
just take me right off, and I'd never be on again. I would never be on again.
And music's tough.
They just remove you, and they don't even tell you. You just have to figure it out.
Yeah, certain ones, yeah.
No, I'm talking about like Apple and stuff. Apple will if I played a song that I want. No, if you get caught, I don't know how I get caught.
Again, that's just it. It's if you get caught.
Who's going to catch me? But I mean, but I don't want to take the chance.
No, and that's more to the point. And the problem is especially with stuff like that, it's a moving goalpost situation where you could have you could have a song on that gets by for years and years and years and years, and then all of a sudden, like I said, someone hears it and it gets flagged for copyright, and then your whole thing's done. It's like that show was like 5 years ago, man. You know what I mean?
They don't care.
They don't care.
They really don't.
And the bitch of it is the automated ones. Like I can only speak to like really more YouTube than the audio apps, but it has automated copyright flagging. So it's picked up, like I've had videos where it's picked up things it thought was a song that like you have to then you really have to start like disputing and getting involved and trying to be like, no, look, it's this thing over here. Like I have there's a royalty-free website that you pay a subscription for called Audio Blocks, where you get music beds and stuff. We used it a lot for Wicked Bites. Yeah, all the music in Wicked Bites came from there. And part of your subscription agreement, and it's right in the licensing, is you can use this basically. Short version, you can use the music anywhere for lifetime without having to pay royalties because you paid for your subscription. It's part of that.
Yeah.
One of the songs or one of the music beds that I used sounded vaguely like, there was two of them actually. One was vaguely like a Rolling Stones song, and the other one was like the Halloween theme.
Oh, nice.
I picked them by design. I'm like, that sounds like the Rolling Stones.
For that reason, right? Of
because
course.
I can.
Yes.
Now the problem is when you post that segment to YouTube, you're now dealing with getting flagged because they think it's a Rolling Stones song, and you have to go back and forth. The bitch of it is because it's an automated thing, it keeps getting flagged. So even though you get you get flagged, you dispute it,
and you've worked
it
it
gets
out.
cleared, it gets worked out. Okay, you're in the right. 2 years from now, that thing will I'll be doing this forever.
It's crazy.
Just for a stupid 15-second piece of music.
Zack Snyder's actually in trouble now because of his trailer for the HBO Max Justified, because they didn't get clearance for that Hallelujah song.
Well, that's just on them. They were given $30 million.
I know,
movie.
that's
like,
but
you're not clearing songs. That's on you, man. If you're
imagine
Zack,
that.
like, it's one thing for me to not clear a song.
Of course.
If you're Zack Snyder and you were just given $30 million to re-edit a bad movie and you don't clear a song for a trailer, I got no sympathy for you,
goes
pal.
to show you though.
I mean,
if they'll hit anyone.
And again, that's Warner Brothers, so that's on them.
Yeah.
They haven't been nice to me, so fuck them.
See, that lends more credibility to it too, is because it's Warner Brothers. They did it.
Actually, I like HBO. I subscribe to HBO Max, and I enjoy it. It was one of those things I was on the fence about. I had HBO, canceled it when COVID started, just cutting luxury costs, and then they came back and they offered a deal to come back on HBO Max. I'm like, all right, I'll try it for a couple months, see what happens. And the first couple months I was poking around and it was like, this is weird. And then I started digging into the movie library, and there is some gems and something that wasn't advertised. And I don't know if many people know about it, but they have, you're a video store, guys. You know the Criterion Collection.
Yeah.
They have all the Criterion movies on HBO Max, like the Criterion print of them. So like you go watch, and you can tell because they start right out with the big Criterion C logo at the beginning of it. All the Godzilla movies that were released by Criterion, the Night of the Living Dead, which is royalty free, and anybody can put out like that. You and I could put out a copy of Night of the Living Dead and make money off of it. It's a weird, terrible situation where George Romero got screwed on it, but the Criterion Collection put out a version that's beautiful. The transfer is great. The black and white, it looks awesome, and that's the version on HBO Max. So it was like, they didn't. A bunch of Bruce Lee movies are on there, the Criterion versions. Basically, for people that don't know what Criterion is, it's like for physical media, it's like the peak of physical media type things. So like, they take specialty movies and they clean them up. They give them nice presentations, so they look great. They sound great. On Blu-ray or DVD, they put a ton of really cool bonus features and documentaries into them and stuff like that. So I'm a physical media collector. I, again, have been since childhood. I ran video stores and stuff. I was destined to do that. Now they're all in boxes, but there was a time where I had an entire room wall to wall movies in my house, and the Criterion Collection is like the pinnacle of like a Blu-ray. So it's like if the studio puts out a version of Blu-ray you find for like $5, and then the Criterion one is like $20. For me, I'm buying the $20 one instead of the $5 one, just because I know it's like
that much better.
It's the last time I'm going to buy that movie because it's the best it's ever going to look and sound, and it's really freaking cool. And I thought it was really a wonderful surprise that HBO Max has those movies all in their library, and really nobody's talking about it.
So I have HBO, so I am therefore grandfathered into HBO Max.
Right.
But I'm waiting for the app.
Oh, I have a Roku. And not having HBO Max on TV is the worst.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want to do it.
Yeah, it's tough, especially because, like, I'm a huge South Park fan, and like in June, South Park moved from, they were on Hulu and then they moved over to HBO Max. Was actually one of the factors that I played into like, all right, I'll subscribe because I want to watch South Park. And
who doesn't?
Yeah, exactly. It's such an easy, like, bingeable show. Like, you just pick a random ass season while you're making dinner, and all of a sudden you're 7 episodes deep and laughing your ass off. It's wonderful.
With mac and cheese on your chest.
Yeah, it's great. It's perfect. COVID.
Gotta be the COVID.
Who's going to judge me? Nobody's around.
That's right.
Time is meaningless.
That's right.
You know?
That's right. But so they're not on Amazon Stick either, which bothers me.
No.
Like, come on.
And that's becoming. I cut cable like 3 years ago, and went streaming, and it's now becoming a problem because everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
And the cool thing when I did it was like the point of cutting cable was, I had Xfinity. It was exorbitant every month. It was like $350 every month. It was stupid money. And all of a sudden it's like, all right, well, why don't I cut it, just pay for internet, and then pick and choose what I want to watch? Makes sense. Why doesn't everybody do it? You can. So I went with YouTube TV. For a number of reasons. One of them was it had Nesson. Not only was my TV show on there, but I'm a Bruins fan. Right. I need a way to watch the Bruins. Like that was one of the factors when I was, all right, well, I want to cut cable, but I need to watch the Bruins, and YouTube TV was the perfect option. It was relatively inexpensive at the time, and they had the local channels for sports and news. Great. It's basically just like having cable at like a fraction of the price. And now, because everyone's streaming, the streaming services are kind of feeling strong.
Yep.
For lack of a better term.
Yep.
So
momentum.
Everyone's using Roku and Amazon Fire Sticks, so they're able to be like basically strong arming the providers, the studios and stuff. So it's like HBO Max just thinks, oh, we're just going to put our thing on Roku, and Roku's like, no, you're going to pay us. You're HBO. You're boasting 30 million subscribers.
You've got the money.
You're going to break a little piece off. You're going to have to grease my palm a little bit here. I got to wet my beak.
That's right.
And I'm just I just want to watch the Bruins.
That's it.
And they, like I said, the YouTube TV lost Nesson on Halloween. That was the last day. I got the email, and I'm like, ugh.
Wait, like 2 days ago?
Yeah.
Wow.
It turned off right at midnight, disappeared. And the real bitch of it was one of the cool things about YouTube TV was the DVR, which is an unlimited cloud space DVR. Great. As a TV junkie, I'm DVRing everything. Well, if they lose a channel like they lost Nesson, everything from that DVR is gone too. I mean, I lived through Wicked Bites, so losing those is okay, whatever.
I lived,
but it's like I had all the Bruins games DVR on there, and some of them I occasionally go back and watch. Like, oh, that was a great game. I'm just gonna sit because COVID, so I'm gonna go back and watch this game and try to enjoy the rest of my evening. And nope, God, like that sucks. Yeah, but my guess is, and I know you saw the comment that I posted that it's like it happens all the time. Like if you ever watch, like usually like AMC is one of the ones that if the like DirecTV, we lost our contract, and there'll usually be a scroll at the bottom like, if you're a DirecTV subscriber, let them know that you want to see AMC.
Right.
It's a pissing contest. The networks versus the service providers. It's been happening since contracts were invented. And my assumption, because it usually in the past has been worked out eventually, my assumption is that by hockey season, they'll have it figured out.
They'll have to.
Because what YouTube TV will see is, because I can't be the only one, that Nesson was a factor into getting YouTube TV here in Boston.
Nope.
So when hockey season starts rolling around, okay, well, I want to watch the Bruins. I'm going to find another way to watch the Bruins, and if it's not you, then I'm going to have to make a decision if your $65 is worth it each month.
Someone's getting my money.
Right. Well, that's just it.
You want it to be
I'm
you?
watching the Bruins.
Right. Regardless.
It's
irregardless.
It's like a drug addict. It's like, I'm getting high tonight. You're either going to let me get high, or that guy is. So who wants my money?
That's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
Bruins are a drug. I'm addicted.
That's funny because it's so true. It's like I've seen that a million times. You got 3 days. You call everybody, write everybody, whatever you got to do.
Write your congressman.
Yeah,
you want to watch The Walking Dead.
Right.
Because they don't have better things to do with their time.
That's insane. And a lot of times it's the dish. I remember being in the dish too because I'm like,
all,
oh, good. That doesn't affect me. All right, good.
You would always see those commercials. DirecTV and Dish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was weird times.
They are.
So, is there anything you want to promote other than
shit? I don't know.
Instagram or
I mean, send me money. That'd be good.
Send it down to the Cape.
I accept cash.
I won't say what part of the Cape, but down the Cape.
No. I mean, I keep the social media simple. It's all my name. It's at Mike Wendt on pretty much everything. So it's MikeWendt. And I write. That's pretty much where I post everything that I'm doing, whether it's that movie show, which is on every podcasting app. Literally the one you're listening to this on. Right. If you put that movie show in, it's there. Same with Two Guys Watching Wrestling. We're on every podcast app. The GTA short films I'm making are on YouTube. Again, it's at Mike Wendt. I mean, follow me on social media, and when I start doing things I'm getting paid for, I'll let people know.
Now, do you think, real quick, because I know we touched upon this before I hit record.
Yeah.
What do you? If you don't want to answer, you don't have to.
No, it's fine.
But what do you? How long do you think it'll be till you're back on Wicked? Let's say Wicked Bites, but
I don't know. To be honest, it's been. I wish I had a better answer because you're not the only one that asks. I got friends and people that watch the show, and it wasn't just a TV show. I was doing a radio show on Sunday mornings with them, and people that listen to the radio show, or we stream it on Facebook, and I'm very track downable. So people will send me messages being like, first thing is everything okay? Because I just disappeared.
Where'd you go, Mike?
There was well, that's just it. It's like the show went on perpetual. The TV show went on perpetual repeats, and I just disappeared from the radio show. So, and again, I'm very track downable. People can see on Facebook or Instagram or whatever that I'm not dead.
Right. I had no problem getting a hold of you, Mike.
Depression's different, but I'm not dead. And I don't know. Hopefully soon.
Why can't you do the radio show? What can you not say?
I'm unemployed. It's the easiest way. I'm unemployed. So
I see.
Until I can go back to work is the answer. Hopefully it's soon, but again, because the show's major source of budget and income comes from restaurants, and I mean restaurants,
they're hurting. Yes.
Yeah. Like this is like, of all the industries, they've been smacked around the most during this, and it's not. I hate to say it, it's not going to get any better because the cold months are here.
Yeah.
So it's like you're dealing with people that what a lot of restaurant customers don't understand is restaurants operate on such a small profit fraction. So it's like restaurants are running on anywhere from 1% to 4% profit. So it's like it's very small. And that was why when this all first started, a lot of restaurants were saying anything less than 100% capacity is going to kill us. Like you start putting restrictions on us, we're dead. And a lot of them have. Like it's sad to see how many places have had to close down and that are going to have to close down because now, I mean, people can dine inside, but even that has restrictions put on it. So you have capacity restrictions for indoor dining. Then you have the part of the population that won't go indoors regardless because COVID's still a thing.
Yep.
And we're in New England, so outdoor dining's pretty much done. It's like seeing those the patio pictures during the snowstorm the other day. It's like, oh well, they're dead.
Right.
It's like, great. The city's all extended your outdoor dining license into November, but who's going to use it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it sucks because, you'll get a surge on the random 60-degree day till about 4 p.m. Yeah, but then the sun starts going down and you're screwed.
It's more effort to set it up than it is to...
Right. And now they have the time restriction where everything has to close at 9:30, which was announced a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And if now you can't really do outdoor dining. and your primary source of indoor dining is cut down to a certain point, like I don't know about anybody else, but like I'm just starting to think about dinner around 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. And if that means I'm going out, it's like, really? I got to leave in a half an hour? You know, that sort of thing. So come the next couple months, a lot of places are with... We don't need a lockdown for restaurants to go back to takeout and delivery. We just need weather. You know what I mean? It's going to happen.
Yes.
You know, like I was thinking about that on the drive over here, and I'm like, oh man, it's cold out. It's too cold to sit and eat, type of thing. You know what I mean? And they don't need to. We don't need the governor to tell us you can't eat indoors. Like, there's a good chunk of people. My mother won't go into a restaurant. She won't do it. Like, she's still too afraid of COVID. You know what I mean? And she's not the only one.
Nope.
You know, I see it a lot. People on Facebook, the question is asked a lot. Do you feel safe dining indoors? And there's a lot of people being like, no, I'm just doing takeout. It's like, and that's going to be real hard. So that's the long way of saying I honestly don't know when I'm going to be able to get back to the show, because the restaurants, you know, the sponsorship through restaurants was a source of budget and income. And it's a blood from a stone situation. You know, if your sponsor is having enough trouble paying their wait staff, they're not going to worry about paying for a TV sponsorship. You know what I mean? So who knows? That's the long way of saying who knows. Hopefully soon. If I'm being realistic, and this isn't me, this is just, you know, my feeling industry wide. We're going to be looking at a full year of this shit.
Yeah.
You know, it wouldn't surprise me if in March we're still sitting here being like, all right, is it over yet?
Yeah.
Can we
go
can we
play?
start? Can we start? Like,
No.
like that was one of the tough things from just on a selfish level, a personal level. It's like I had a lot of shit going on personally at the end of 2019 where I was looking forward to this year. Like, legitimately, I'm like, okay, this is going to be a year of
2020 is my year.
New starts, and I'm not one of those new year, new me guys. Right. But this year, it actually was real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like, there's going to be a new start, new beginnings. You had Denise on a couple of weeks ago, so you know about we got a divorce.
Yes.
So I'm like, I'm turning 40. I'm getting divorced. Going into this new year, I don't know. Maybe I'll get weird and move to Florida or Vegas or whatever, but I have that opportunity to just start over, type of thing. And it's like, okay, well, let's make the most of this situation. You know, let's make the best of a bad situation. So I was kind of looking forward to it. I was looking forward to a new start. I didn't mean a hard goddamn reboot. I wasn't like, hey, let's turn it to zero. Yeah. This guy's optimistic. Let's turn it to zero.
This poor bastard.
It's like I just needed a Control Alt Delete type of restart, not pull the plug out of the computer. Like no, we're gonna throw this one out the window and start over again. Like we are literally starting from scratch whenever we do start again. That's the tough part.
Yeah.
Is the whole starting from scratch thing. It's scary, but again, it's like I keep falling back on the creative side of my brain, being like, well, I can figure something out. I just, once, even now, like, I'm not making any money off the podcast or anything, but like, I got 2 podcasts going. I've started these video series. I got like 2 others that are probably going to start by the end of the year. And then a couple other video series by the end of the year. It's just like, again, it's the throwing shit off the wall scenario. It's like, right now, you're not making any money off of it. You might as well have fun doing it. You know what I mean? And
it'll come. Who
knows? One of those pieces of shit might stick to the wall and then you can make something out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I said earlier when we were talking about the movie show, like Eddie and I were talking with Showcase right before COVID. This was supposed to be a great year. We were going to be doing live events. We were going to be doing our own version of Mystery Science 3000 in bars. We had literally in March and April, we had 2 dates set up at Blackstrap Barbecue in Winthrop that we were going to be doing live versions of the show, and along with it was awesome.
Yeah,
it was awesome, and who knows?
Yeah, you can. I mean,
we don't stop being ourselves. So when the lights get turned back on, we can start back up. And
I think it's funny because we're doing this in the dark.
we're doing this in the dark. This is perfect.
You're literally and
2020.
figuratively.
This is literally the perfect 2020 podcast. It's like we're literally in blackness. Time is meaningless. That's why I'm still like, I'm guessing like, oh, this is like, there was part of me like when we were talking about the Marvel stuff, I'm like, oh, this is probably around like 3 hours. And as a podcast guy, I'm like, oh, what a terrible guest. I'm just babbling on keeping this guy from dinner or something like that.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. No, hey.
I know when I'm on the other side of the microphone, it's like, because my wrestling show goes long. That's a long one. But again, we're covering months of crap.
Right.
And I know when I hit around 2.5 hours, I'm like, oh, we need to wrap this up.
No, see, with me, it's simple. It's a conversation, and it's just until. And you were. What am I going to do? Tell you, hey, listen, can you stop right now because I got to end this? No, no. If you're going, you're going. I felt bad for Denise because I had to for the 2 Chicks Chatting episode.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I lost a bunch of stuff. I had to salvage. We had a whole almost an hour of her and I because Kim had to leave.
Yeah.
And I only got, I think, 20 minutes. I felt so bad, but I didn't want to just not do it. But no, if you're going, you're going. It's interesting. It's like The Godfather. I always say that. The Godfather's 3 hours. I'm watching all 3 hours of it.
Right.
Endgame, another one. I wanted it to be 4 hours.
Yeah.
No, if it's good, I mean, if you're boring, I can understand. But
sure.
no, I'm
glad I'm not boring.
No, I'm entertained.
Yeah, it's funny.
Am I not entertained?
Yeah, exactly. It's funny you mention that because it's like that was exactly the analogy I put when The Irishman came out.
Yes.
And everyone was bitching and moaning that it was so long.
I love that
I'm like,
movie.
it's entertaining.
I thought it was great.
It's so long. It's on Netflix. Push pause.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? I watched it. I started with breakfast. I pushed pause. I went and made lunch. I came back. I watched some more of it.
That's awesome.
And then I finished it with a couple of beers, and I'm like, this is a great day.
Did you watch the round table after?
Oh my God, it was wonderful.
I love the round table.
And so few people knew about it.
know.
I went to Thanksgiving that year, and I was telling my family, I'm like, oh yeah, and then did you stick around and watch it?
Yes.
Like, no.
I hit stop as soon as it was over. No, you don't. God. Don't ever do that. Never do that. You don't know what's out there.
The funny thing is, we were talking about Justice League. Coppola recut Godfather 3.
Yeah, I know.
It's coming out in December.
What is that about?
You know what
I'm going to watch it, but
here's my analogy. My thought on it is because Stallone is recutting Rocky 4 too,
and he's leaving out the robot.
He's leaving out the robot, yeah, because we needed 2 more hours of montages. My feeling is it's what I'm referring to as a Snyder effect.
Okay.
All these filmmakers, because again, none of us can work. I don't care if you're as small as me or as big as Stallone. None of us can work right now.
Lucas did it first, by the way.
He did. But what happened with Snyder is all these guys who are not working right now, all film productions shut down during COVID, saw HBO Max give Zack Snyder $30 million to recut his film.
Because of people hashtagging it.
So Coppola was like, I'll take 5. I'm not doing anything. I don't have to work ever again because my wine is awesome. So I'll go. Everybody hated this movie of mine. I can recut that. And Stallone, everyone loved Rocky 4. I don't know what he got up. Like why we needed that.
And
whatever.
why take out the robot?
I'll watch it. I'm sure.
Oh, I'm definitely going to watch it.
You know,
but
yeah, like the Coppola one. It's he changed the title and everything. It's no longer Godfather 3. It's called Godfather Coda: The Death of Michael Corleone, and he's releasing it, I believe, December 2nd. And it's like, yeah, I mean, if I was a filmmaker with a library of movies, I'd probably be calling some people, being like, "How much money you got? I can recut my movie." You know,
but it doesn't make sense. Like I honestly, and I am so in the minority about this. I had no problem with Godfather 3. I understand it wasn't 1 and 2.
No.
But it told the story.
Sure. It's definitely not as bad as the hype.
No, definitely not.
It's become one of those movies that it's cool to hate it and it's cool to smash it. But if you go back and you watch it, yeah, The first two are classics.
Yes.
Like two of the greatest movies. Godfather 2 is one of the best sequels ever.
Empire and
it's like
Godfather 2.
Godfather, Empire, Terminator, and Back to the Future 2.
It's not bad.
Those are like, if you're looking for sequels that will stand up as their own, like this is a great film, not just a great sequel.
Yes.
You're off to a good start there. In Godfather 3, it's like, yeah, it's a decent enough movie.
but
It's
when
a little long for a bad movie.
But you're following Godfather 2. What do you expect?
Right.
You can't have it. It can't be that good.
It's one of those things. It's like
It had some good lines.
it was a legacy sequel before legacy sequels were a thing. It was
ahead
like
of its time.
Yeah, kind of, but not really. It was like because like what they're doing now with stuff like Doctor Sleep or the latest Terminator movie, which I thought got a bad rap. Again, it wasn't great, but it wasn't as bad as people thought made it out to be. And I love Doctor Sleep. It's like now they're taking the time. They're going back and doing these 20, 30 year after the fact sequels, legacy sequels. Back then, it was like, well, it was probably what, 20, it was 90 something. So yeah, about 20 years after Godfather 2. And no, maybe not 20 years, maybe 10, whatever, math. COVID. Blaming COVID on everything.
Over 10.
I can't do math anymore.
Over 10. I saw it in the theater.
See, that's what people don't know. Not only do you lose your sense of smell and taste, but you can't do math anymore. It's a fact.
I have permanent COVID.
No, I don't want to make it seem like I actually have COVID. I don't. That would be very irresponsible of me. But yeah, so they made it like that, and it was a cash grab type of thing. It was like, you can't tell me that Coppola was like chomping at the bit to make this movie. He wanted to make another movie. This was he wanted to make The Death of Michael Corleone because it was part of the book that Mario Puzo wrote. But the studio didn't want him to make it. They wanted him to make, they wanted Michael to live, obviously.
Yeah.
And, he's a hero. You can't. Well,
if you can kill Brando, you can kill Pacino.
Well, Brando just didn't want to come back.
He was great though.
Brando. It's called Lost Souls. It is a documentary on Amazon Prime of the making of The Island of Dr. Moreau.
Oh, please. I'm not watching that.
The Island of Dr. Moreau is a bad movie. This was so fascinating.
Are you serious?
Oh my God. Like this, they should have just released this. It was.
Are you kidding me?
Oh my God, yeah. Seriously, go watch it. I'll be honest with you. Don't go watch Pool Boy. Watch this.
What's it called again?
Lost Souls. It's got a long subtitle. It's
Okay.
like Lost Souls, blah, 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 the making of Dr.
Pool Boy, Lost Souls.
Yeah, Pool Boy. Drowning out the screams. They got some people, though. They had, I'm not saying, world star thespians, but, Pool Boy had, Kevin Sorbo and Danny Trejo,
Is that true?
Names you know.
Well, Danny Trejo will do anything.
Yeah, except my podcast. I feel like we wrapped up and then started over again.
That's okay. But see what I'm talking about? I'm not going to cut you off. You're on a roll.
So, mentioned the Mike and Billy show earlier. When we were getting guests, we started branching out and trying to get guests in other realms. And we got a contact, 6 Degrees of Danny Trejo. And we had an interview scheduled with Danny Trejo for the release of Machete Kills, the sequel to Machete. And it just happened to coincide with the week he was on Breaking Bad, where his severed head was on the back of a turtle. I don't know if you watched Breaking Bad.
No, I haven't.
If you watch Breaking Bad, you know the scene. Danny Trejo is a big drug guy, and he gets killed, and his head gets put on the back of a turtle walking around Mexico. Very cool scene. Anyway, we were supposed to have him on the show that week. Really great. It was the one and only time I've pre-promoted an interview. Ooh. I've been, because I always had that, the floor can always fall out type of feeling.
It can.
But we were like, great. And we were on a roll at that point. We were having guests regularly, and having a good time with them. The episodes were landing. So we're like, all right, let's do it. So we put it out on social media, like, you got any questions for Danny Trejo?
What should I ask Danny Trejo, everybody?
We sat in that studio.
Oh, no.
For 2 hours, waiting for the phone to ring. And Billy was the one who set it up, and he's emailing and texting the person he would set it up with. And finally, at about hour 3, the reason was the person in California that set it up, like the intern or his assistant or whatever, fucked up the time zones.
Seriously?
Yep. So he was ready to go 3 hours before we were.
Before you were?
Something like that.
It would have to be because you waited 3 hours. He would have called
yeah.
then. Oh, my God.
And I never got him back. So from that day forward, anytime a guest bails, it's always been referred to by me as getting trayoed.
It's a trail. I'm going to start using
We've been
that,
trayoed. Yeah.
if you don't mind. That's
Yeah,
funny.
please. But yeah. Yeah, that was a good one.
That's crazy. But you know what's funny? You mentioned it. You felt like you were wrapping it up, and almost every episode I've done, I've had a wrap up moment, and then it just balloons into something else. It's so funny because it always happens, and I kind of expected it to.
I mean, I generally blame my ADD because it's like you say one thing and it's like, forget it. We got to strap in. We got 2 more hours to this.
But it's true. You could just
My brain is off.
You could do this forever. Like you really could.
Well, we haven't seen anybody in 7 months. Just enjoying this conversation.
Well, like I told you, I was surprised you were going to make the drive. I was totally expecting you to be like, yeah, just give me a number. We'll call. And I was happy to do it. When you said I'll go, I'm like, okay.
About 2 in the afternoon today, I was almost about.
Were
to
you
text
close?
I was close, and I'm like, nope.
Well, you wouldn't have trailed me. We just would have phoned.
I just would have called, yeah. But I was like, no, let's get out of the house for the day.
I'm glad you did. This was fun. I mean, I've never met you before. This is funny because I don't usually not know the person that I'm talking to, so this is kind of fun. That's why I kind of had everything set up. I wanted you to come in and be like just I don't want to chit chat beforehand.
Sure.
Just boom, get into it and.
Don't you love that? 'Cause I've done that too, where you're ready to do a show and you start bullshitting beforehand, and it's like, again, Billy and I would do it all the time. We'd call them our lost shows because we would sit down and we would talk for 2 hours before we hit record,
and then you can't say it again because it's not the same.
Right, and it's like when before we start doing wrestling talk, that's usually where we would do our wrestling talk. It's like, let's get it out of the way so we don't talk about it here.
Right.
But then we started talking about wrestling. It's like, how's your day?
And then it's Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. How's your day? I guess.
Well, Mike, I do appreciate you coming.
No problem.
I really do. The stories are great. I hope that everyone loves it. I
hope so.
I was very entertained. I really was. I'm not lying to you. I know it's dark, and I could probably fake it if I wanted to, but no, I do appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thank you for having me, man.
Find the button here. I will obviously edit this part out.